fairy tale land.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are, because this is, it's like, yeah, we're out in the forest. We got snow all over the place. We got old buildings, and we got beautiful weather today.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the snow.
Yeah, it's like Easter.
Yeah, it's magical.
Yeah, because I live in the south, and there it doesn't come much snow in the winter. So it's kind of like a long fall period. It's like dark, and when the snow comes, because came a lot now, and then it just lights up.
Oh, that's
Crystal.
nice.
Yeah, so I'm so happy about that. So yeah, can we talk a little bit about you then, Louise?
Yeah, sure.
You know, like I talked to her about, because I'm so interested in human beings, in who people are, like really are, and then I always like to start with the upbringing. You know, your childhood. You know, again, because that says so much about who you are.
Yeah.
I think about people. So can I ask you about that? How's your childhood? Where you from? What happened? When did it start?
Let's see. I was born in Sacramento, grew up on my father's ranch, who lived next door to my grandparents. They moved to Foster City, which is a boat city. It's kind of like, it's like made of landfill, and they filled it in. It used to be the ocean. And then it became like a boat community where you ride boats everywhere, and we have like, you know, regattas and all kinds of stuff. And
sailing too? Sailing?
Sailing.
All right.
Yeah. And so I grew up, you know, in a very boating type community. There were only 2 Black families in that town. And it was the Washingtons, which were across the street from my home, and us and my family. And I was a little boy, about 2 years old. My mom left me, told me she was going on a 2-week vacation, and she never came back. And that was pretty devastating. I think that was really devastating for me as a kid, because that's the thing that I remember the most.
Of your childhood?
No, I remember a lot in my childhood, but I think when I was really, really young, like 1 and 2 years old, I remember standing on the steps, watching my mom and my sisters, who are my half sisters, walk out the door, and watching my sister crying and me crying and asking, where did mom go? And when you find out your mom's going for 2 weeks vacation, so I figured, okay, 2 weeks can't be that long. So I would take all my toys out of my room and bring them to the front window of the house and make a blanket and like a whole little fort there. And I stayed there every single day waiting for my mom to return, and she never did.
Do you think that you already knew in a way?
I did, but I didn't want to accept it. But I was also 2 years old, so it was a bit hard on me to see that my mom.
Trauma.
Yeah, it was very big trauma. And then my sister came in and told me that mom's not coming back. And then my dad sat me down and explained to me, which I didn't quite understand. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, there was this other woman that is sitting in front of me telling me that she's going to be my mom. Wow. And she's from Hawaii. She's Hawaiian, Filipino, and Japanese. And that we were going to go to Hawaii. And I remember going to Hawaii, and it was a very, very different experience, you know, because it was a very different way of people in Hawaii and the culture of Hawaii. And so we were in Hawaii, and I was meeting her family and everything, and the cousins and whatnot. And we would go back and forth all the time. So I spent all my summers in Hawaii, and then my school years in the mainland, which is in Foster City. Yeah. And I grew up in a home where, you know, I had gifts when I was really young. In my family's bloodline, my grandmother, the Hera family, they go way back to Africa, where they were what we call spiritualists. So spiritualists in our time is a shaman. Mm-hmm. And what it means is someone who studies herbs and understand certain types of rituals and certain ways of seeing and understanding spirit from African wisdom, and then passes it down to their family. My father...
Verbally?
Verbally and through experience.
And through experience, yeah.
And so my father was one of the apprentices to my grandmother, which was his grandmother, who had the house where they had two houses in Louisiana and Nolens. And in their home, one house was just for people coming and having sessions and doing healings and whatnot. And then my grandmother would take the people in the village and area and take them out to the swamp areas, and they would sing spiritual songs and so forth. And my dad grew up that way, but he also, grew up, with horses, and he grew up like in a very old-fashioned way. Like when you think of the movie The Color Purple, that was my father's time.
All right, but did he practice a spiritual? Did he pass that on to you? Or
so he did practice, yes. And then my grandfather. So in those times when you were being spiritual, because predominantly Black families had to hide a lot of their cultural ways, and
that's what I mean. Being Black in the States as well. At that time.
So a lot of them would hide it in Catholicism.
Yeah.
And so Catholicism is really close to like Mukumba and Santeria and like all of these different ways of observing the old African traditions of Yoruba.
But what about voodoo? Is voodoo a part of this?
So hoodoo and voodoo, which is basically the art of protection and healing and all these different things. And a lot of times people have a misinterpretation of voodoo because they think voodoo is all dark.
All the black, but it's also because I've been in Haiti.
Yeah, that's where my family's from.
So
we
had on the Berserk, the boat that I sailed to the Arctic and all that. We had a voodoo ceremony on the boat.
Yes,
for 14 hours to protect
the boat.
Yeah, and they had the hen. They usually chop the head off, and they explained me because after the ceremony they didn't chop the head off.
Yes,
and I asked them, why didn't you do that? Because I've seen this in movies. Why didn't? No, because it wasn't that many bad spirits here. So
exactly,
he didn't. Because I understood that they collect the darkness in the hen, and then they chop the head off to get rid of.
Yeah, so basically, it's what it means is in our culture, the hen or the chicken represents the one who will choose to give its life for the negativity or ill or whatever it may be that's affecting, and so they take in the chicken or the hen takes in the negativity, and then they chop the head of the chicken and make an offering to say that this chicken now goes to a place of light. And all the negativity goes with it.
Yeah, it goes with it. So,
and that's an old tradition that also lives in Viking culture. It's in it was in Aborigine culture. It's in Maori culture. It's in African culture. It's in Native American culture. It's in Inuit culture. It's in all the cultures of shamanism.
All shamanism.
It's the basis of shamanism from the core rooted aspects of how we deal with spirits and serving and so forth. Because in shamanism, we believe that everything is a spirit.
Yeah.
Right. So, so growing up.
But was that voodoo in your spiritual?
No, in my family, it was Yoruba.
Oh, Yoruba. Okay.
Yeah. So my grandmother practiced Yoruba. We have family members who understood the hoodoo voodoo culture because of Haiti.
Yeah.
But they practice Yoruba.
Okay.
And Yoruban ways is, there's a regalness to it, a beautiful regalness of how we observe and honor our ancestors, nature, and how we look at humanity. Yeah. Right? And everyone is a spirit, including you are a spirit,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And
the earth.
Mother Earth, the trees, everything. So when I was young, my father would tell me stories of his things that he went through. And my grandmother's sister, who is my Aunt Hazel, she was the one who shared with me our traditions.
All right.
And of course, her daughter and then her other daughter. And so they shared with me the traditions. And I learned traditions from them. And then I also started to have spirits come to me, ancestors come to me and talk to me and tell me things about myself and my gifts and so forth. And my father...
How old were you?
I was about 4.5.
And you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a baby.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you remember the womb being inside of your mom?
No, but I did when I died. And I saw that again when I died in my late 20s. I saw that again.
Was it a spiritual death? No, like an ego death, or like...
No, it was
death?
like a death. Like
Yeah.
I suffocated to death and all my organs shut down and I went and had brain damage.
How far were you gone?
I was gone. The doctors didn't even think they could resuscitate me. And then when they did resuscitate me after 7 tries, they had to induce me in a coma for about 2 months so that I could survive.
Do you remember where you went?
Of course I do.
What happened?
You're skipping around. Do you want to?
I'm
You're very random. Okay, that's fine. Then I'll go with your random
if
style.
It's all right with you.
Yeah, if you want to be random, I can be random.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
So I went to first place I went was I was in this liquid. And then I realized that I was standing in the hospital watching my mom give birth. And I realized my dad wasn't there. And I told him later, and he was shocked that I knew that. Yeah. And I saw myself inside of her at the same time, and I started feeling myself being birthed again while watching myself being birthed. And I got to see everything I did in my life and how it affected every person on the planet. Oh. And that's when I realized that in that moment, I saw that even when you have a small, simple argument with someone or just a dispute, that energy is causing chaos on the planet because it accumulates with every other person who's doing it. Yeah. And then that becomes the hurricanes and the illnesses and the famine and the other things that show place on the planet, that we're all connected.
Not in balance.
Yeah, it's not in balance, right? And that we are these people who have great power, but we also have the ability to be great destructors. Yeah. In the way we think and the way that we choose to perceive the world.
I've
right?
seen the same in ayahuasca.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's what ayahuasca's for.
Yeah.
Mother Aya is to teach you about everything that you have not been wanting to see.
But it was exactly the same experience. I did it a lot of times though. But one of the first was exactly that one. I went through the light and then I saw myself from above. Yeah. And then what you say, everything I do affects everything.
Everything. Yeah. Everything. Yeah. So I saw that, and then this light came, and I felt the light and the love, and I knew that I deserved it, and I was it, and I am the light, and then all of a sudden I became the light, and I went into the light, and I was in this ocean with all these beautiful colors, and then I woke up on a beach, and there was a woman in front of me, and I didn't have a body, but she was talking to me, and she was asking me, I know you have a lot of questions, so go ahead and ask them. And I said, well, why do people suffer? Why do we have war? Why do we have disease? Why do we have this? And everything I asked, she said, it's because of malfunction in thinking. Every time a human being thinks, they dream, and every dream becomes a reality. Mm-hmm. And so as long as human beings continue to dream nightmares, then the nightmares will continue to take over them. Yeah. And every time they dream heaven on earth, then they will start to build heaven on earth. Mm-hmm. And it was this really beautiful
manifestation.
Truth. Yeah. But it was more than manifestation. It was a responsibility for how we think.
Oh, yeah.
And how we are being projected to think. Yeah. So it's either we take back our sovereignty and dream the dream that supports our heaven on earth, or we let other people tell us how to dream and we go along with their dream, and then we realize at the end of our life that we never really lived our life. We lived our lives for our parents or for our husband or a friend or someone, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree.
So that was a very interesting experience for me. And then afterwards, she asked me if I wanted a body, and I could be anything I wanted to be. And I said, I want to have the body that I once had. So I all of a sudden saw myself. And she said that me seeing myself was acknowledging my existence, and that we're all eternal beings, and that we never perish or leave. We just have to consciously be aware of ourselves. And so now that I was aware of myself, I was able to have a body. And then she asked me if I wanted to go visit family or friends or go to a community area. And I went to a community area first before seeing family. And it was quite an amazing experience. The oceans there were so beautiful. The mountains were gorgeous. The sky was so beautiful and perfect. The beach was amazing. Everything felt like the best warm blanket you've ever had, the best meal you've ever eaten, the best making love session you've ever had, the best conversation with a friend you've ever had. Like anything you could think of on earth that was like the best of the best, it was all wrapped up into one experience.
Yeah, total love and bliss.
Just complete love and bliss. Yeah. And I got to visit friends of mine who passed away. I got to see them, and everyone has their own heaven. So I thought that was really beautiful as well, because I had my own heaven waiting for me. And every friend of mine had their own heaven. And I got to visit a lot of my childhood friends, like one of my buddies when I was a kid named Josh Yortz. He died in a horrible car accident, and, you know, other friends of mine. And so that was nice to visit them and visit family. And I got to see my ancestors, and I got to see like my great grandparents, and like, it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this woman came and said, would you like to go back? And I said, yes, I'd like to go back. And I went to the beach, and there were all these people on the beach. And then we ended up hugging each other, and they were like, remember, you have a choice. Do you want your memories erased again, or do you want to have full recollection of your time here? And I said, full recollection of my time. And they said, so that you know that if you ask for that, you will always be in a place of knowing like what really exists versus what you're experiencing on Earth, because Earth is a landscape of different people's dreams and illusions that are being created based out of fear or based out of love. And I said, yes, I understand. And then I ended up flying through space. I saw all these other planets and galaxies. It was really beautiful.
Beings.
Other beings. Yeah. And then I came to Earth, and there were like, how do you put it? Like, I don't want to sound crazy to people, but it was like ETs would be the best way of putting it. They were, and they were like plugging me back in to some kind of grid that was colorful and had high pitched sounds. And I remember the sounds were like, it was really intense. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I remember they were all like, they were like a collective, like they all fought for each other, like collectively. And one of them said, he's in. And all of a sudden I saw this light, and I was speeding through this light. And all of a sudden I woke up in the hospital. They were giving me an adrenaline shot and shocking me. Yeah. And just like that. I was like, and then I couldn't breathe. And the doctor was like, we're inducing you into a coma. And they were putting this thing down my throat to intubate me so I could breathe. And then I was in the hospital, running around the hospital, doing things and watching people visiting my body while I was in a coma. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy shit.
And then I came back to my body. And when I came back to my body, I was paralyzed. I had brain damage. My liver was failing. My kidneys were gone. My immune system was gone. And they said that I was in a good shape compared to what they would think, because when I died with a 10.6 potassium level. And that is more than what people get in death row. Yeah. And they can't even resuscitate people from that. So they said that for me coming back was a miracle, that my doctor still calls me the miracle kid to this day. And I sat in that hospital, and there were these spirits in there in the room. And one of the spirits had said to me, why did you come back? You should just stay where you were. You know, the people don't need you here. You need to go. And then this other spirit came, and it was a beautiful voice. And it said to me, don't listen to them. They don't want you here because of what you can reveal. Just listen to us, and we'll help you out of this. And so I couldn't breathe. I was on life support. I had people, I remember my sister said that, like, one of the nurses came in, she was talking to me, and she was like, oh my God, are you a rock star? Because you have like a line going out the hospital. There was like over hundreds of people coming from all over the world to come and see me.
Yeah, the miracle child in a way? Or
no, they were just coming because I was Shaman Durek, because I did so much. Before I passed, I had traveled so many countries and helped so many people. I've lived in Israel, I've lived in Egypt, I've lived in Turkey, Greece, Italy, Spain. I mean, the list goes on. And I've done so much in each of those countries
So you've already Shaman Durek.
Oh yeah,
right, when you died.
Yeah, Shaman Durek was already established in the press, in the news, on television. I had a TV show in Turkey, you know, and even in Israel, I had a TV show, 2 TV shows to be exact. And I've been on like biggest talk shows in Israel. I, you know, started spiritual groups, and I also did stuff in Turkey, where I wrote a book called Uyanış, which is a book about transformation and everything. Like I did so much in all these countries. Yeah, right. I don't want to go through every single country because it's a lot. Even Iceland, I lived in Iceland as well.
Oh, I love Iceland.
Yeah, me too. Or Iceland, should I say?
Yeah.
And yeah, so what was interesting was that I had this voice telling me how to put my body back together, and it told me what to do. And I did it, and I didn't question it. And I did exactly what it asked me to do. And my dad was already making plans to get my casket because the doctor was like, there's no way he's going to survive if we take him off life support. And my sister and my friend Melanie came in, and I'll never forget my friend Melanie and my sister. They stood by my bed and they're like, you are the shaman. You are chosen to be the shaman. You will pull yourself out of this. And I remember hearing their voice, and all my students who came in, they kept saying, we know who you are. We know that you're going to pull yourself out of this. And sure enough, the spirits told me how to heal my brain damage, and I did. I couldn't even move my fingers or my hands or my toes. That took years. And I was in a wheelchair for about 2 years, and I had kidney failure for 8 years. My liver came back, which was great, but my kidneys didn't come back. And so I had to wait for my sister to have 3 kids. And I was doing charity work at the time and working and teaching Pilates while seeing clients and lecturing and doing a lot of other things. And being able to go on dialysis for 8 years was quite a challenge, I'd say. Yeah. And being in a wheelchair was also, you know, you can't take care of yourself. So my friends would have this list called the Durek Love List, and each one of them would come after work and bathe me and you know, wipe my ass and you know, feed me and do all these things. And I would give lectures in my house in my wheelchair to people. It's quite extraordinary, to be honest. And I remember when I finally got out of that wheelchair, when I finally realized what it would take for me to get out of that wheelchair. And what it took was Spirit was saying I needed a conductor of energy strong enough to get me out of that wheelchair to heal my legs. And everyone thought it was impossible. And so I started looking into the Kabbalah, and I got into the Kabbalah, and, you know, I had already lived in Israel, but I didn't really dive into the Zohar in the way that I could have. So I went back to my studies in the Kabbalah and the Zohar, and the book 22, which was the book that gave me such insight. When I would scan the Hebrew language, I felt energy go into my body. And I was working with a physical therapist at the time, and the physical therapist said to me, you know, we can't promise you, but we can do the best. But right now, the biggest thing we need to do is try to get you to stand without falling.
Yeah, because I think the muscles must you a lot of
atrophied.
exercise.
It atrophied. Yeah, my body was atrophied.
Yeah.
And I had to build up my sister would give me weights, and I would build up my upper body strength so that I could at least lift myself into my wheelchair, crawl on the ground, and like get things that I needed.
You're a little kid, baby again, in a way.
Yeah, but also it taught me, because I've always been a type of person who's been very self-reliant and independent. Yeah. And even when you would come to my house, like everything is like, and you know, even Märtha gets used to it now, but I'm very orderly. I like things to be in order. I like everything to have a place. I'm very feng shui. And so what was interesting was my sister had to move into my house, and my sister's not.
She's the opposite.
She's the opposite. She's like Märtha, you know, they just things just kind of land on the ground and, you know, whatever. Yeah. And I remember I was in my wheelchair screaming on the top of my lungs of how upset I was that my cans were not faced in the right direction. My towels were not lined up, and like everything was just discombobulated. And my sister goes, well, you can scream as much as you want, my little brother, because
you're in the wheelchair.
You're in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And it really hit me how controlling I was at the time. And then what it did was it made me surrender.
And be more humble.
Humble, surrender, realize that I do need people.
Yeah, of course.
And I do need to be able to ask for help when I need it.
Yeah.
And it was okay that my friends took care of me. Because I remember one time my friend was bathing me and I just started crying.
Yeah, of course.
Because I just did not want him to bathe me. No. You know?
Did you feel humiliated? Help me out. Humiliating.
I felt it humiliating, yes, because I was like, I can do this myself. Yeah. But I couldn't.
But you couldn't.
I couldn't.
No. Have you taken that with you now? Are you still remembering that to keep your humble?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, you know, even in my relationship with Märtha, I mean, every time I go to Märtha, you know, like, for instance, like for me, I grew up in a family where men don't cry.
All right.
Right. And so the way I used to handle it was I would listen to Metallica. And like Metallica was my Bible, actually.
Same with me.
And I realized the universe, how like I really started to uncover things about the world based on Metallica. Yeah. You know, because I was like going to my dad all the time, going like, did you listen to the Master of Puppets? Like they're telling the truth, like this is real, you know. And I was very into like heavy metal and AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Pantera, you know, all this kind of stuff.
Same as me.
I was the rock and roll kid, you know.
Right.
Where everyone thought I should be the hip hop kid, but that kind of came,
black, huh?
yeah, because I'm black. Everyone thought, oh yeah,
Master of Puppets are pulling your strings,
yes,
twisting your mind, smashing your dreams,
yeah. So I used to get upset because I didn't know how to express emotions, and I used to punch holes in the wall, and then I'd cover them up with my rock and roll posters, and it was only later on when you know, in life, I started having these different moments where I would have these breakdowns. So when I met Märtha, I realized that, you know, she was so sensitive about everything. She would cry a lot. And then I would get uncomfortable. And she's like, you're uncomfortable that I'm crying. And I'm like,
because of you or because of just situations?
Crying just because of things happening in her life, you know, crying because of things that we were both going through at the time. Or just crying because she's happy about certain things. You know, it was a multitude. It wasn't anything because of me. From day one in my relationship with Märtha has always been about honoring my queen, you know, and I call her my sun and my moon. And that's from the first day I met her. That was 7 years ago when we first started dating and seeing each other. And we didn't come out to the press till later after we did our courtship and we went through that whole cycle and the process. But I can always go to Märtha and cry in her arms. Yeah. And I say, babe, I need to cry. And she just opens her arms and I cry, which I never was able to with any of my other girlfriends.
But was it violent, your upbringing? Was your dad violent?
Yeah. So my stepmom was Catholic, and she was the kind of Catholic that believed that you had to like whip the kids, the sin out of children, you know? Yeah. And my parents were a little bit too much, I think, in the regards to their behaviors in the sense of their beatings. My father used to never hit us. And then when my stepmom came in, it was like full on. It was really, if you ever seen the movie like Mommy Dearest and Flowers in the Attic, that was my childhood. Ooh, it was like getting called to the room, me and my sister
get punished,
opening a closet, choose your weapon that's going to cleanse you. So you would choose something, and because they had hooks of different kinds that they made.
That's sick.
Yeah. And then you'd go in and you would first do the hand beatings, which were like 10 strikes for every lie that you've told in the week. Yeah. So you maybe get like 200 strikes on your hands would start blistering. Yeah. And if you pulled your hands away for 1 second, it would be an extra 20. So you have to get through that part, and then they beat you, and then you would bleed, and your skin would break open, and you would fall to the floor and start foaming at the mouth and shaking and screaming. And then they would drag you into your room, and the nanny would come in, because I grew up in a very wealthy family.
All right.
So my father made a lot of wealth from construction, doing commercial real estate. And so he did like very big hotel projects and, you know, built up Hunters Point, and then he merged with his business partner Amoroso, and then they built bigger things together. So he made a lot of money. My dad was a multimillionaire. Yeah. And his way of raising us was he was never around. No. And also my dad was you know, my dad was brought up in a very different time. Like growing up with my dad, I felt like I was in the movie The Color Purple, because he'd be like, every time you see a woman, you tilt your hat. Table etiquette was like huge.
But that's nice though.
Yeah, I mean, but I didn't understand it because my other friends' parents weren't doing that.
So you were brought up by your nannies, more or less, and your stepmother.
I was brought up by my nannies.
Yeah, all right.
My nannies and my what we call the people who participate in my kid activities. So like, I played baseball. My dad hired this guy who would always be there to wave to me because he couldn't wave. Yeah. You know, I played. Sorry.
Go ahead. But what did I'm just overwhelmed. But what have these traumas done to you? You know, it's like
so the traumas were heavy and intense, right? I mean, even we would get locked in rooms for 3 months at times, and only allowed to go to the bathroom if, when it was time, and the nanny would let us out and then put us back in, and they'd always push our food tray. And I literally felt like I was in prison.
Create a lot of hate.
Yeah. But I didn't. I didn't. No. So what I did was me and my sister made a pact with each other that the more pain and suffering we went through in life, the more we were going to love.
Oh, that's a good.
Because we didn't want to be angry people, and we didn't want to be people who looked at the world with hate and malice, and it's unfair. We took it, we experienced it, and we chose to love. And that's why my sister has 3 beautiful children who are so educated and so smart and powerful and graduated from the top colleges and are just really beautiful souls. And she's the most loving, pure heart human being. That is the reason why Märtha and I found each other, because Märtha's a pure heart and I'm a pure heart, and we just love. We just love to love.
But again, at that time, did you feel that you deserved it at that time? Like,
no,
brainwash you that much that you deserve this pain. You did this, No, you didn't.
No,
I looked at it. Your sister,
I looked at it. I was always a very involved kid. Yeah. So I always used to tell my dad, like, I know why you're doing what you're doing. And he'd all be like, why? And I'm like, because you had it done to you by grandpa. So you're just passing on the illness and the poison. Yeah. But the only thing is that your illness isn't going to make me ill, because I'm not going to take it and pass it on to, and my sister's not going to take it. So it ends with us.
Yeah. So it's good you had each other though.
We had each other. Yes.
I think that's, if you've been alone with it, it's.
Yeah. If I was alone, I don't know what I probably would have taken my life. It was so drastic sometimes where I remember sitting in the corners of my bedroom and shaking and crying and begging God to take my life, because blood would be all over my arms and legs, and I couldn't take it anymore. Yeah. And I would go to school and have to hide all my wounds and, and then also dealing with racism. That was hard for me as well, growing up in a very all white community. And we were the only 2 major black families, and then another black family. So we were 3 black families at a certain time, but being, the only black kid at school who coming from a family of money, all the times my what's her name? My guidance counselor would always say, oh, you rich kids, you're so lucky, you're so spoiled, you're lucky you have such a rich father. Or every time I did something wrong at school, my dad had to put in a tennis court, or, build the new
library.
No, drama department.
All right, yeah.
And even to the point of me graduating, because I was going through so much abuse and so much trauma at home, I just didn't want to go to school anymore. My father, I was getting bullied at school, so my dad had the limo drive me to school all the time. So the kids made fun of me about that. Yeah. Oh, the rich kid in his limo. No one has a limo. Everyone has to take the bus. So I kept telling my dad, I don't want to take a limo to school. I want to take a bus.
Yeah, I want to be like the others.
I want to be like the other kids. But then I would get into these fights. Yeah. And my sister was always the one who used to defend me, because I was a very gentle, nurturing, loving kid who, I had powers, I had gifts, I could see things, feel things. I did.
Yeah. In a bad way? Or
no. I used them. Love? Well, I mean, from the perspective of my teachers, they thought it was bad because I would tell them why they were acting the way they were acting. Yeah. But from my friends, no, I would tell them things like, don't do that because this is going to happen. Or, this is what's really going on at home with your parents. And, and
so you never used like black magic to
No. But I studied the dark arts. Yeah. I studied the dark arts for about 4 years to understand. And my aunt thought it would be a good way for me to understand if people were ever to hurt someone using black magic, I would be able to protect them.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I felt like there's all these people in the world who have all these spiritual gifts. And especially if you've been to Haiti, then you know in Haiti how it is. But not just Haiti, just other places in the world as well. People wish bad upon people.
Yeah, spells.
You know, when I lived in Turkey, I remember there were gypsies who would curse people and curse families, and horrible things would happen to them.
The Sami people as well uses that a lot, you know, curses in a way.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I am very looking forward to getting more. I have some Sami friends that I'm friends with, but I'm really looking forward to learning more about their culture.
But it's always, you know, it's yin and yang is always white and black, always dark and love, you know, in all cultures, I think.
I think the way we look at it from a shamanic perspective is in shamanism, energy is energy, right? Energy. We don't look at darkness the same way that religion looks at darkness.
No, absolutely.
We look at darkness as spirits that are hurting, they're scared, they're angry, they're viciously hurt themselves or other people when they lived. And so when they died, they didn't believe they deserved to go home to the light. Right. So they stay in this place called the underworld, and they look for hosts. They look for human beings who think bad about themselves or, you know, have negative thoughts, and then they go and support them. Yeah. Because a being of light's not going to support you if you're constantly putting yourself down.
No, of course not. But it's dark polarized and light polarized in a way. The way
from the duality perspective.
From the duality perspective.
But we keep that alive. You see, religion creates an imbalance in the human psyche. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for religion, and I love going to church. I go to church still, and I love the songs, and I love some parts of scripture, and I love scriptures also in the Quran, and I love things also in Hindu. Like, I studied so many different things.
But it's all about love, but it turned into politics, how to control people.
That's the issue that I have.
That's the issue I have too. What do you think about Jesus Christ? What do you
Well, you know, I find it fascinating that Jesus is a blonde hair surfer when it actually describes how he looks in the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. You know, Jesus came out of Israel, out of a very place where people have darker skin.
Yeah, but that's again the politics about the church. You know,
or Moses, for instance. Let's use Moses for an example. Moses, which is Moshe, which is how you actually say his name. Moshe was a part of who came into, after his fall from Ramsey and the Pharaohs, he came into being found by Zipporah, which is her father is Jethro, and they were in the Midian tribe. Now,
he was African.
Exactly. And what I find fascinating about religion is that religion doesn't tell people that Moses was a shaman. Moshe was a shaman. Yeah. That's why he was chosen to go back and help the people, because the Midian tribe are a tribe of shamans. And so if you study the knowledge of ancestral history in African culture, the Midian people were shamans, and they trained in shamanism, and then they were also caretakers of livestock. Yeah. Right. And so that's why he was able to see the burning bush, and that's why he could hear voices and all these kind of things, because he was a shaman. But I find it funny how religion now tries to make it like shamans are evil, and they're doing witchcraft, and they're doing all these things. Witchcraft and shamanism have nothing to do with each other. They're two very different.
There's a threat, it's a threat.
Yes, it's true.
You just in Norway, they killed all the shamans, all the Sami shamans.
That's crazy.
Because it's a threat for the religion.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and religion was created through the Romans template. We were talking about Saint Constantine and all the different people who manipulated religion to create a god that would punish you, that would send you to heaven or hell, that finds you sinful, that you have to beg for forgiveness to get forgiven. Yeah. When I went to the other side, I was told that God was pure love and that God only knows love. And the message that the spirits gave me was a macro cannot exist with a micro, meaning God would never create an adversary of himself to destroy that which he is, because God doesn't see duality. God only knows wholeness and love. And so it's fascinating how we're playing these sagas out that there's this, like people, you know, I think I posted something recently about helping children because I've done all this work globally on helping kids who, you know, get spirits in them that make them rage and curse their families out and slam doors. Like I've worked with a lot of anorexic children.
Yeah.
And every anorexic kid is talking to some spirit that keeps them anorexic.
Okay.
And I feel like you know, I have a lot of friends who are psychotherapists and they come to me because they're like, okay, I hit a wall. What do I do? What do you see? What's going on? You know, and a lot of times people forget that shamanism was the birth of medicine. Shamanism was the birth of psychology. Mm-hmm. Shamans were the first ones in tribes to do things in experimenting ways that made it so that the tribe would function. Yep. So they were the therapist. They were the ones finding the medicine in nature to help the people.
Yeah, like ayahuasca, you know.
All of it. Yeah. Every type of medicine that you see that's out there came from some aspect of nature.
Yeah.
And then they became the people who then started going more into doing stuff with like certain types of glass bottles and chemistry and all of this type of stuff, then alchemy. And then the alchemists and the chemists then became the doctors. Yep. And then the doctors would wear these masks and they would come in and they would, you know, do bleeding and all this kind of stuff. Yep. What in history has people forgotten where shamanism comes from?
Yeah, they forgot everything.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So when I listen, so people always say to me, why would a psychotherapist talk to you? You're a shaman. Why would a doctor invite people in the hospitals in California to invite shamans to work side by side with them when you're a shaman? Because we see things from a different perspective. Yeah. We see things not the same way you see them. And we test theories differently than the way that other people would test theories. Like no one would ever ask a kid or a person who has cancer, why do you think you have cancer? But shamans do. Yeah. And, you know, and so we go to the places that people feel uncomfortable stepping into so we can get the answers that most society is afraid to look at. Yeah. And for me, I have always been the type of person who tested those boundaries. You know, I went and worked with kids with cancer in Israel and Turkey and all these different places. And I remember the press like contacted Israel and they were like, oh no, there's no register of him, because there wouldn't be a register of me because I was invited by the doctor to come in and work with the kids. But it's not like in LA or in California, for instance, where doctors in the hospitals are actually inviting shamans in and giving them the ability to work with the patients. Whereas in Israel and Turkey and in Italy and all these other places, it was more about being invited in, or parents saying, hey, I heard about your work, what you do. Can you come and support my kid? So I started working a lot in the cancer wards and started doing things with adults with cancer and kids with cancer. And I asked them a simple question: why do you think you have cancer? And all the kids had an answer. All the kids in Turkey had an answer. Kids in Italy had an answer. Kids in England had an answer. But every adult had no answer.
Oh. Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So one kid, his mom and dad were with him, and he has brain cancer. And so I asked him, and I said, don't be afraid to tell the truth in front of your parents. Why do you think? And he said, well, he looked at his dad and he goes, my father is always angry. And he comes home all the time screaming and yelling at my mom. And he yells and yells and yells, and his darkness has taken over my brain. Yeah. That's what the kid told me.
Yeah.
Another kid told me that he felt like his family were not accepting his sexuality.
So he was gay.
Yeah. And his dad is super against gay. Homophobic. Like super. Right. And he felt that aggression all the time. And then all of a sudden he wakes up with leukemia.
Yeah, because the way I look at cancer, it's, the body's in balance. And with, like what you said,
I don't believe that kids are unhappy because that's what makes them have cancer. That was my research. Yeah. But what I do believe is that we have a long way to go to understanding what develops cancer. Yeah. And if we're going to find the answer, it's not going to be just the medical world finding it.
What do you think cancer is, to put it like that? What have you come
up with? I have a lot of theories. I think cancer is the misconduct of our environments, of how we create technologies and different things that aren't meant to be created for our body. things, artificial things that we put in our food, continuous exposure to television screens and cell phones and Wi-Fi signals. I believe, it also has to do with the environment you're in, the type of, I feel like we are energetic beings. This is what we believe in shamanism, that we're beings of energy. Organic beings of energy. We live in a biological spacesuit that is a functional spacesuit that requires energy, right? And that energy is coming from this gray matter that is connecting into our systems, that is coming into our brain, that even science still hasn't figured out how that energy is fully developing, but they have figured out the quarks and nodes and the quantum aspects of things, which is quite nice. The energy itself is a disruptor to our body if it's coming in from a disruptive energetic frequency, meaning hate, anger, rage, fear, any form of energy that makes us feel the inability to breathe. Because whenever you have fear, you stop breathing. Your body releasing too much cortisol creates so much inflammation in your system. Too much inflammation and toxicity can affect your cells. Can affect the way your cells function.
And that we know. No.
We know this. We know this. So what we don't acknowledge is our environments, and we don't acknowledge what we're exposing ourselves to. We don't acknowledge the groups of people we hang out with and the things they talk about are affecting us on some level.
Of course.
Because human beings still don't realize the value of life.
No.
If human beings were to say, I'm going to value life from the perspective of valuing life, they would put more emphasis in looking at these things like shamans do.
Yeah, and the ripple effect, obviously.
And the rippling effect, yes. But most people don't. So what they do is they kind of categorize it and then give medicine for it that isn't really supportive to the body, again. And then they do radiation, which isn't supportive to the body, because they haven't chosen to bring all available resources of knowledge together. And that's where I get frustrated in I would say in Norway, because Norwegians have this kind of like, I know, and I know this, and I know that, and nothing else can tell me anything. And that limits people's evolution.
Of course.
Well, then you have people in other countries who are doing experiments with shamans, who are bringing in Chinese doctors and seeing if there's ways that we can look at things differently, but not saying get rid of medicine or get rid of the doctors.
No, we can have them both.
But we can have them both.
We can have them both.
And that's what I stand for.
I totally
right?
agree.
I call it truly utilizing our resources.
Yeah, totally.
Because
it's good that they can sew you back together if you crash in a car. It's
absolute.
Things, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And some of the medicine, obviously, but the pharmaceutical industry. It's not money and healthy people. You see.
Yeah. Exactly. And people always in Norway try to always make it like I have an issue with doctors in the medical world and go against them and don't tell people to go see to get the proper care. And that's not true at all. What I offer people in my tribe, which means anyone who wants to understand shamanism from the perspective that I teach it from, is about understanding taking your power in your hands, but it doesn't mean don't look also to the resources that we have available on the planet, such as doctors and psychotherapists and, organizations that have put so much time and effort in really trying to support these things from having such a huge effect on humanity.
Yeah, what I think is fascinating is that they call it alternative medicine, but it's medicine that's like 5,000 years old.
Yes,
that worked for 5,000 years.
Yes,
as we know, and that's alternative. I said, you're the guy that alternative.
Yes, yes.
And you're not healing the reason. It's just the symptoms.
Yes,
you are dealing with, not the reason.
This is why I'm very into functional medicine, because I have a lot of friends who are functional medicine doctors, and they're looking at a different scope of illness than just the symptom itself. Yeah. They're looking at what actually caused the illness and then going backwards and healing it from that perspective, which I think I've seen, from me, when I see doctors focusing only on symptoms, I know that is not going to heal the core, and so forth. The person's just going to keep going back and forward.
But a doctor in Norway now, though, they use like 10, 15 minutes per person. When you come to the doctor, you get 10 minutes. Oh. How can you figure anything out Then it's just, all right, take these pills. And then,
yeah, I don't know so much. I just know that the treatment in Norway that I've gotten has been amazing.
Yeah, of course, when you get it in the right way, obviously.
Yeah.
But the time that they spend with the patient, how can they find out the reason? They can't. It's impossible.
Right.
But I think more and more are doing the private part of it now than they actually take the time with the patient.
Yeah.
But for normal people that can't afford it, they get the pills.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's
horrible.
And the pills.
And I just, for me as a shaman, I remember one of my friends saying to me when I was really young, they said, Durek, you are the type of person who doesn't have the fear to stand up against adversity. So you need to speak out in the world. Yeah. And you need to go and meet with people who are in powerful places and tell them, the truth about like what's really going on versus what you think is going on. And that's what I've spent my life doing, meeting.
How'd that work out for you in Norway?
In Norway, I wasn't interested in doing that because I already saw that your society was xenophobic.
Yeah.
And I also studied sociology and anthropology. That's the number one thing for shamans is that we know sociology and anthropology. So I can see the demographics of your people and how they operate as a group and then collectively and as individuals. And what I saw was the people there's a lot of fear here.
There's a lot of fear.
A lot of fear.
That's a gut fear,
are.
As well. Started with that because the Viking period, no fear at all.
Right.
And then the Catholic Church came and just slaughtered everything that didn't,
Yeah,
behave.
but that's unfortunate, because you have so many bright, intellectual, creative, stimulated people who are geniuses in your country, and they don't feel that they can live their life without them having dominion over them. Your whole country it's all about who has the power over you.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because like even just the way that Märtha and I, are with the kids, we don't tell the kids what to do. We ask them what they feel like doing. We invite them and support whatever vision or dreams they have, and we stand by it and we listen to them and we talk to them and we hear where they're coming from. And then if we feel like there's some place where they are stuck, we ask them, would you like some information on that? Or do you feel like there's something you can figure out on your own? But we look at it from a place of holding love and space for kids to grow so they can be everything. And
you still have to be a parent sometimes, though. Like,
yeah, of course, when they do
like
things, when they do things that there is the parenting that comes from Märtha
balance
and I.
there,
Yes, but it's a choice that Märtha and I make together. We are united front. So we connect, we talk about things together, then we talk with the kids, then we go back and talk about it again, and then we decide what's best. But most of the time, it's the kids deciding what's best for them. I'll even ask them, like, what do you think your punishment should be?
Wow.
Because I feel like there's got to be a new way of raising kids than the way that we have been raising kids in this very dominion-based, I'm sending you to your room. Why?
Yeah.
Tell me why. Go clean your room. Why?
Yeah.
You should tell your kids why. You should say, I'm sending you to your room because I feel like you need some space to figure this out. Or I'm asking you to clean your room because I want you to respect the things that you have and honor, the space that you have. Because when you have space and things are clean, you can think better. But if you don't tell kids why you're doing what you're doing, then you sound like a dictator.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And I feel like here in Norway, everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
But the opinions aren't coming with the level of intelligence that I look for. Like when I'm in the States, I might have a person in Washington write me an email and say, hey, I read this thing about you and I wanted to share this with you. What were your thoughts in saying this? And then we have this great conversation. And then they give me their input about what they feel. I listen to it. And then I go, oh, you know what? I never thought of it that way. Let me add that more into what I'm doing.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
You're not locked. And that's the way I am as well. If I hear something that resonates more with me, my old belief, I jump right, all right.
Yeah.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah. Make me a better person.
Yeah,
that's what I'm here for.
I'm willing to learn.
I'm here for evolution's sake. That's what to me, spirituality is evolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
I come here and people tell me that they're criticizing me, but criticizing me or being vulgar are two different things. You can criticize someone and say, you know, I don't like this and I don't agree with it. But when you go to rage and anger in the way you speak to someone, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah, and that's also kind of childish, if you will, because, you know, and it's about respect, obviously, you know. I think we could disagree, but you could do it on a respectful manner. And,
I agree. We can agree to disagree and still
absolutely.
like each other.
Yeah. And we can't, all human beings, have the same perspective of things. When we look out that window, we see two different things.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so people, I find here, are afraid of really getting to know me.
Yeah.
I just go, well, you know.
But you're scared.
They're scared to know me. And so they'll rather just make a blanket idea of me by what they read in the press, which most of the stuff in the press is construed because it's not basis on the things that I actually said. It's made to believe. It's what I call, it's not non-bias.
But do you understand them? Do you understand why?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. You don't?
No, I don't.
No, I mean, the way they look at you through the press and what, you know, and some things you say are shocking to them. This is like we talked about.
Yeah, but if something is shocking, then come talk to me.
No, it's something like we talked about before this podcast. It's like we always need someone to point at, and it's the fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. You know, the same when the foreigners or our new countrymen came to this country. It's not that many years ago. They came in the 70s, the first Pakistani people, and they saw, oh, it's someone darker you know, that's dangerous.
Right.
You know, and it's still like that.
Yeah.
Everything that's new is dangerous.
Right.
And that's so,
it's called xenophobia.
Yeah, you know, like it's been like this forever, since the Viking Age, if you will.
Yeah, but that's not progress.
No, it's not progress at all.
And if you're going to have a society that's going to be able to, you know, do things with the rest of the world and integrate into the rest of the world and still honor your traditions, you have to be willing. It doesn't mean you have to accept what someone says, but you have to be willing to hear them and ask them questions to go a little bit deeper and do a little bit more due diligence in what exactly is this person saying. Mm-hmm. Because what people do in Norway and what I've witnessed, which is going to be it's kind of sad in a way. And I'll tell you why. It was very sad because I came here to Norway because this is where my ancestors are from on my mother's side.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Are you Norwegian?
Yes.
Dude.
I'm not Norwegian, but I have Norwegian blood. Yes.
How far back?
My mother's father and his mom were from Norway, from Oslo.
Like white Norwegians?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. So for me, it was like always my mom telling me when I finally found her later in life, which was way later.
Yeah.
And I started trying to build a relationship with her. She used to always say to me, I see you returning to the motherland. I see you going home and the people are going to embrace you. And she used to always say that. And I was always excited to come here and explore and meet the people and be like, you know, learn something new that's different from my culture, you know? And that wasn't the case.
And my DNA. Yeah, because what did you meet?
Yeah, what I met was hostility, death threats, people making fun of me, people putting me down. And the sad part of it was none of these people reached out to me and said, I'd like to get to know you. Yeah. Not what I read in the press, but you. But
that's the way Norwegians are. We discuss on the, you know, on our kitchen when we're eating dinner. That's when we discuss and criticize. We don't address who we criticize.
Yeah, and that's I find that to be, for lack of better words, unevolved.
And that's why I'm reached out to you and wanted to talk to you, because I only read about you in the press, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this guy? I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
So, but again, I've been traveling all over the world, so I'm a little bit different than, like kind of a
I understand
normal
that.
Norwegian guy.
I understand that. Yeah. But I think that when someone is coming from another country or from another walk of life, we should embrace them into
learn from them
and learn from their ways, and vice versa.
Yeah,
you know, And that way, you know, even if we don't agree with each other, you know, I have friends who are Norwegian. I have a lot of friends who are Norwegian, and we're like thick as thieves.
Yeah.
And we don't agree with everything. And we're still the best friends. And the reason why is because I'm not trying to force my beliefs down my friends' throats, and they're not trying to force their beliefs down my throats. But what Norwegians do is I have a community that I've built for years since I was a kid. I took my first client when I was 13 years old.
All right,
and
but now you're answering another question I have. When did you start? So,
yeah,
all right, 13 years old.
13 years old. And the client actually to this day lives in New York City. And he even said to me, he goes, I can't believe I saw a kid for a session and I was a grown man. And he goes, but you were talked about so much by people that I knew that I had to see for myself. And me and him are really good friends to this day. And, you know, and it's funny because I've always devoted my life to bettering people, to putting power back in people's hands, to helping people see the potential of who they are without the noise that they always are exposed to.
The sovereignty, you know, like.
There's a lot of noise. Like I come to Norway and I talk to Norwegian, I meet new Norwegian friends and they beat up on themselves. They're putting snooze because they can't handle emotions and their anxiety. Yeah, and that makes sense because
I choose my poison now.
The poison is the stress and the anxiety, this yanta law, not being able to express yourself because you're afraid of criticism. So of course you're going to be putting tobacco up your lip, and of course you're going to get shit-faced drunk to the point where you can't even stand and say your name because you're trying to do the extreme of the extreme. Yeah. Right? And so I tell my friends like, hey, you don't have to do these things. What I want you to see is how amazing and powerful you are. And they get so uncomfortable when I say it because they're not used to having someone say that to them. Absolutely. Because you're not supposed to.
We've been told the opposite.
Exactly. Yeah. And even when I met Märtha, it was the same thing. I was like, babe, like, you're a genius. Like, you're so creative and you're an amazing mother and you're like all of these things. And she's like, really, honey? I'm like, yeah, babe. And she goes, yeah, I am. Yeah. I said, yeah, you need to say it. Yeah. You need to honor it. You need to hold that up. You did that. Yeah. You did that. You raised these three girls with honor and grace and beauty and just pure love and the way they are and their etiquette and everything. And you did this, you know, and you and Ari, you know, raised them together. But after Ari left, you continued to raise them. I couldn't be there all the time. No. Well, when I was in town, I was a part of it. And I was, you know, I would go to all Emma's. I'm always there for Emma and always there for Leia and I'm always there for Maud. And we have three different relationships. But I'm there for the girls, you know. They're my babies. I love them. I mean, Emma came in my life when she was 9 years old and she used to snuggle me and hold me, you know, and I'd take her to like Universal Studios and stuff. And at the time, she didn't know that I was Märtha's boyfriend.
It was your best gay friend.
I was the best gay friend, yes, because that's the way Märtha wanted and I decided that it would be best for them because they didn't want another man in their mom's life. So I was the gay best friend and we had great times together. They'd come spend time with my family would spend time with them. And, you know, and so when we did announce that we were actually dating and that we were in love, you know, it was easier for them to process, you know, and we have a great relationship. And, you know, and I like their minds. I like the independent thinking of women. I've always been a women empowerment leader. I've always been about people empowering themselves, you know, and I've been in situations in relationships where I've been abused. I've been in relationships where, you know, I had one relationship with a man that just was horrifying.
But is that, sorry to interrupt again, but I'm so, you know, but so I understand it. You had a relationship to a man.
Yes.
But is that mean? But that's gay, to put it like that. You know, how is that?
Yeah, I don't consider myself gay.
No, that's what I want to ask.
I consider myself soul sexual.
Yeah, sexual.
Soul sexual.
Yeah, so you fall in love with the soul.
I fall in love with the soul. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's all about
I've dated women most of my life, and I've had two boyfriends in my life. One was, you know, bless his dear heart. I love him. I always will love him. There are good times, but he had a lot of issues, mental issues, and I'm glad that he's dealing with it now in his life. But it was drastic to the point where I was constantly in survival mode.
But how about the sexual relationship with then?
I'm not going to talk about that.
Right. No, I'm just...
because then they'll post that and put that all over the place and talk about my sex life. I'm not going to talk about my sex life, especially with the family that I'm marrying into.
Yeah, of course not. But I'm just,
But yes,
the difference, like with the soul, the love with the soul.
Yeah, so I never perceived the body as being different from... The soul is the soul. If I'm in love with your soul, I'm in love with you. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And... for me, do I much prefer being, if you want to ask the question, do I much prefer being with a man or a female?
No, that's not what I'm asking, but I'm just...
But I can tell you, I much prefer being with a female.
All right, yeah.
It doesn't mean I can't love a man. It's just that female energy to me, I like family. I'm a family orientated person. Yeah. So I like kids, I like family time. I like sitting at the table, with my woman and the kids. And I've dated a lot of women in my life who had kids.
Well, you can have that with a man as well, gay couple have kids.
Yeah, it's a bit different though. Yeah. It's not the same nurturing.
No, it's not, because it's, man, woman, kids.
Yeah, but it's not even just the man, woman, kids. Yeah. It's the nurturing aspect.
All right, yeah, the differences between.
And also, I haven't really been exposed to the gay community like I could have. Yeah. Like I grew up with my father totally against homosexuality.
All right, yeah.
I'll never forget the day we were driving in his Mercedes and we were driving down Market Street in San Francisco, and they were like these two guys next to us in the car and they had their hands on their lap. And I was like, Daddy, look at these guys. They have their hands on their lap. And he goes, oh, those are gays.
All right.
And I was like, what are gays? And he's like, gays are not anything you want to connect with. Okay. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But what was fascinating to me was why he looked at it that way.
Okay, yeah.
I always found every prejudice that someone had about something more in relations to their own issues, not with the issue of the situation at hand.
Yeah.
When I did get into male energy, it came very later in life, and it came through a girlfriend of mine. And it was an experience, it was an experience I had. I experimented, I had it. It was interesting. Yeah. And, I never thought anything different. I never was like, oh, I like this or I like that. I was like, oh, I can love the soul. The soul is whatever the soul shows up as. But for that time in my life, I dated a lot of models, and I dated a lot of actresses, and I dated a lot of women psychologists who just happened to be the thing that was there, in my life. And, so when I did come into a male relationship, I told the male that I was with that I was attracted to women, and I think he couldn't accept that. Okay. He used to always make comments like, "Bye now, gay later," and I was like, "No, I like women."
Yeah.
Like,
and now you're going to marry a woman.
That's not going to change. Like, it's not going to change. I'm sorry. Yeah. But I think it was because of the volatileness of him not getting the help that he needed mentally, taking the medications that he needed to be able to have a successful, healthy relationship. I was never a guy who hung out in gay bars. I was never a guy who, walked the streets in gay clubs. That wasn't my thing.
Well, you were attracted to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so he was in that life. He was the one who would go to gay clubs. I never liked gay clubs because it was all men.
Yeah.
And I felt an imbalance.
Yeah.
I wanted women to be there.
Yeah.
So I would only go to clubs that were like, my friends were all DJs. I would go to clubs that were mixed, and I don't care who you were. We're all having fun and listening to house music.
Yeah.
But when it came down to going into the gay clubs and all that stuff, I've always had an issue with the gay community.
All right.
Because I feel like there's a lot of prejudice in the gay community. Mm-hmm. A lot of racism.
Yeah.
A lot of racism. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And a lot of hate towards women.
Yeah, a lot of, and
like I've seen gay men in different parts of the world say things like, oh, that girl, oh my God, she's blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Like, why are you putting down women? You came out of a woman.
Yeah.
I'd like to see gay men become more evolved,
Yeah.
more spiritual,
Yeah.
more aware of if you're going to have a one night stand with someone, don't treat them like trash. Just realize that that's a human soul in a body.
And it's a spiritual.
And there's a spiritual something that you're connecting with, because why are you choosing to be with them?
Exactly.
You know? So for me, when I first met Märtha, I wasn't sure which path I was going down, because I've had a lot of female relationships and they were just very different. A lot of the girls I dated were models, and I realize now what it was, is that I dated a lot of models, I dated actresses, and I dated women who were not powerhouses. So they always were like, kind of, the image that I always get is from Coming to America, when the girl, he brings the father brings the bride to Eddie Murphy, and then he goes, can you hop on one foot? And then she starts hopping, and and does whatever he wants. Yeah. And that was never attractive to me. What's attractive to me is Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's the queen.
Yes, the queen. Yeah. What's attracted to me is the woman who rides the horse, who, comes. I always, when I was a kid, I was attracted to, Wonder Woman. That was like my childhood crush, and always thought in the future, if I was going to have a wife, that she was going to be Wonder Woman. Yeah. That she can throw a spear. She can ride horses.
Shoot with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, she can shoot bow and arrow, and she can stand by your side with power.
Yeah,
because I'm a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And I've always been a powerhouse, and I'm very alpha powerhouse, in the sense that I don't back down to anything. And I was raised that way with a very tough father, tough as nails, as we call it in Hawaii, who would literally say to me, if you're going to talk back right now, put on these boxing gloves and let's go outside and box.
Let's take a round.
Yeah, let me show you what it is to be a man, So my father toughened me up. He made me very strong. Yeah. And that, I think, has been my resilience in a lot of the things that I've gone through in life.
Part of your path.
It's my path, yeah. And I've played with some heavy hitters, you know. I have played with many different celebrities who are heavy hitters, who, think they can tell me whatever they want. And I'm like, no. I mean, even like one of my clients was Sumner Redstone, for instance, powerhouse, owns Viacom, owns Paramount Pictures, owns all these things. And he talks to people however he wants. But when he came to me, it was like, no. You're going to listen. Like, I'm not going to play this game. Yeah. Or you go out. I don't care who you are. Yeah. And I think that's always been my...
But do you fight or verbally?
Oh, I can fight if I have to. Yeah. I'm a brown belt in karate. I know how to fight.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm a red belt in taekwondo.
Oh, not well. I'm in taekwondo. Yeah. But the thing is, do I want to fight? No, because I have a side to me that if I ever have to fight someone, I have a Scorpio, so I have a side that sees red and keeps seeing red. Yeah. So I've learned how to be.
But that's what you learn in martial arts, though.
To control. And to be more mellow. Because I was the kid who was bullied at school by all the bullies. And then I went and studied karate, and then I kicked all their asses. Yeah. And it was always my sister kicking their ass for me until I learned how to fight. Yeah. But for me, I don't need to fight, because I find that fighting isn't really solving the problem. Of course, if I'm in some situation where, then I have to, then I will.
Yeah, of course.
Then I will, to defend myself, of course. Like my buddy Lars always says, he's like, fuck with me and find out. Yeah. And that's our motto, like, fuck with us and find out, right? Yeah. But the thing is that I'm more of a lover, and I keep that side way buried down, because I think there's a time and a place to pick your battles.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, when I have a lot of respect for the gay community. I have a lot of respect for gay men. I have a lot of friends who are gay. I think they're amazing. But when it came to Märtha and I, one of the biggest things for me was to make sure that I wasn't with her for the wrong reasons. So it took me some time of courtship with her. And she was such a loving person to give me that space. Because some women would say, what? Yeah. You mean we're going to be platonic? And you want to date me, but I'm not allowed to see anyone, and we're going to give this thing a shot with being platonic, and we're going to do this until you can figure out what are you like, what? Yeah. And she's Norwegian, And I said, yeah, because I need to make sure that I'm not in this for the wrong reasons. I need to make sure that I'm madly in love with you, because when a Scorpio falls in love with someone, it's life.
All right.
And I want to make sure that I'm ready to be a bonus dad to your kids.
Yeah, be responsible.
I've been a single man, you know,
forever.
Yeah. I mean, I've dated girls with kids, but then we broke up and those kids were gone, you know, and I didn't want to go through that again because I've dated a lot of women with children. And when we broke up, it hurt the kids so bad, you know, because I was being ripped out of their lives. So I decided, you know what, I really need some time to figure this out.
Have you thought about kids on your own?
No. I don't want to bring any kids into this world.
Can I ask you why?
My dad raised me when he was really old.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to have a dad that was old. Yeah. And I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do with him because his body wouldn't handle it, or he was tired, or he was working in the office. It was always working in the office. Yeah. I'm always having to make appointments with him, you know. But one thing I do respect about my father, outside of all the abuse, and he did apologize for that way before he died. He said to me, "You were born as the shaman in this family. My grandmother told me about you when I was a kid. Was
he afraid of you?
He was at one point, and then he started opening up about his path.
All right.
Like what he learned from grandmother. And he started teaching me about, and this was later on in life. This is way after I moved out. He started becoming more, having deep conversations about the path of being a spiritualist in our family, and what it was like for him as a kid, and what it was like for his father to pull him away from that, and how hurtful it was to go into hiding it in Catholicism and then becoming Seventh-day Adventist.
Do you think that was one of his issues that? So he became the man he became against you, I mean, and
I think so, yeah, because he always wanted to make my grandfather happy, and my grandfather became a religious pastor who made us go to Bible studies and follow the Shabbat and go to church. So we'd have Shabbat Friday night for dinner, then sit all day thinking about God on Saturday, and then Sunday we would go to church. So I had no time to play as a kid. And so the house was kosher. We had a meat sink and a sink for the dishes that were, you know, milk and cheese. And, you know, my dad was always trying to impress my grandfather, which was crazy. Whereas my grandmother's sister was always teaching me about the spiritualist way and educating me about where I come from and what my roots really are. And then my Aunt Shirley was also a wonderful advocate for that as well, too, because she had to hide her spirituality because she was a world famous opera singer. So she wrote a book and she couldn't even put it in her book. I remember when she was writing the book and she came to me and I went to her and she was in the process of writing the book and she had said to me, "Should I talk about this in my book?" And I said, "I don't think that would be the best thing for you to do." And me and my Aunt Shirley were very, very close. And I went to her book signing when her first book came out, and she was dressed in a turban and everything. And I invited a bunch of my friends and everything, and they got to meet my aunt. And she would tell me, you know, I'm not ready to divulge to the world our family traditions because people will judge me. Yeah. And then that will affect me and who I am in my career. So it was always that. And it was always her, like, you know, saying like, do what grandpa wants you to do, but don't let grandpa know that we're doing this on the side.
All right. So it was like that.
Yeah.
But like you said, you started having your clients when you were 13. So you never put a lock on it. You always was, all right. Let's do this.
I had no choice. Spirits were coming to me. I could feel things and see things and have dreams that were premonitions. I started, you know, developing skills. And my father said to me, I had those skills too. I just stuffed them down.
Did he cherish you? Like, all right, do this. Like,
he did and didn't. So he did, but he didn't want me to bring it publicly.
All right. Yeah.
So there are times where I was in a situation in school where this girl was really sick. I didn't know she was sick. I was playing with her and then I touched her hands and I saw her really sick. I started screaming and my teacher, Serena, came out and grabbed us, took us to the office. Her parents came, my dad came and asked me why I was screaming. And I said, well, I saw her throwing up and the mom started crying and she was, oh my God, my daughter has leukemia. You know, and my dad grabbed my arm forcefully, dragged me across the playground, put me in his construction truck and was like, don't you ever use your powers in the public again, because people will think you're evil and people will come for you.
Will judge you.
Will judge you, you know? And so I was always scared of And my dad had very strict rules too. Like I wasn't allowed to sleep at people's houses because he thought they would put some kind of curse on me or something. Right. And he wrote in all my clothes my name so that he would make sure that I never came home with anyone else's clothes because he thought they could put mojo on me, because in my dad's time, that's what they did.
Yeah.
Voodoo. You know, voodoo. Voodoo. Yeah. So my father was very much educating me about those things and really protecting me, but also trying to live up to his wife's standards of being Catholic. Yeah. And trying to play both sides. Yeah. And that was a challenge for me and my sister, because we used to always say, like, you're playing both sides. And it was very frustrating because one second you're telling us everything's okay, and then your wife tells us it's not okay, and then you're like, it's not okay. Yeah. You know? And I'm like, Dad, have a backbone, have a spine. But before he died, he said to me, I'm so proud of you, son. I'm proud of you that you have chosen to travel around the world, learn from other cultures, other tribes, other people, other spiritualities, and you stayed true to being the shaman. And you're going to help so many people in this world. And I'm glad that you never followed in my footsteps, because that was controlling. And I love you. And that was really, you know, I was with my Japanese girlfriend at the time, and she saw it. She just held me, and I was just crying.
Yeah, because that did something to you.
And that was on his deathbed. Yeah. And it, you know, and he always would say sorry for everything that he did to me. And that he says, I hope you can forgive me. And I said, Dad, I've already forgiven you. Yeah. And I understand, you know, I understand. And my stepmom apologized to my sister. She never apologized to me because I didn't get to see her because I was traveling. Yeah. But she apologized to my sister when she died. And, you know, and my father always told me, stay true to who you are and don't let anyone change you for whatever reason. And so that's what I've been doing. And, you know, my dad's, he communicates to me from the other side, and he's very proud of me. And we have a great relationship now because there's no more blinders. So he can see everything, and we can have really open conversations, which is quite nice. Yeah. And, you know, what was interesting too was when I was younger, my mom, when I found my mom later in life, she told me that I was going to marry Märtha.
Oh, she did? Huh?
Yeah. And I didn't believe her for years. And she said it in front of a bunch of she said it over and over. She said it on phone calls, and all my friends would be listening, and they're just like, what is she talking about? Yeah. And to this day, when I met Märtha, all my buddies started calling me and going like, you remember your mom said that? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy. It's like crazy. And I've gone to like Turkish coffee readers, and I've gone to tarot card readers, and they all said the same thing. They're like, you're going to be with a woman who has 3 kids. And when I was in church, when I walked away from shamanism for a little bit and became a reborn again Christian.
Oh, you did, huh?
I did.
All right.
I did. And I was going to church in San Francisco with Pastor Bador, and we had this boys' house that we created and a girls' house, and they were both on the end of Haight Street. So on the upper Haight was the girls' house, and the lower Haight Street was the boys' house. Yep. And we had a company called Love's Revenge. And we used to go out and do all of these things to evangelize, like crackheads in the city, homeless, and so forth, homeless, everything. Yep. And then we would take them up. We had a place in nature, and we would take them in nature, and then we'd share with them scripture, and we would teach them how to live in nature, cutting their own wood and living like the old ways. You know,
skills.
And it was really good, and I loved it, and I loved my Pastor Bador. He was amazing, and you know, and I was a reborn again Christian, and I walked away from everything because I really wanted to understand it from a deeper perspective. Yeah. So I got really into the Bible, and it was. I remember my father was saying something to me. I had just gotten back from Italy, and I got back, and he wanted to get some Kentucky Fried Chicken. So he goes, I'm going to be at my office. Come meet me. I'll get some chicken. Let's go get some lunch. So we went to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and there was this homeless man, and he was looking in the window at us, and everyone in the restaurant was kind of freaked out. And my dad looked at me, and the guy came in, and he was like, I know who you are. I know who you are. You can get these demons off of me. And so he fell at my feet, and I reached down, and I started speaking in tongues. And my father watched the whole thing. And he goes, I see now who you are, and like what grandmother was talking about. And he left me in the restaurant, And then the woman behind the counter, she was there and she tried to come out. And I said, wait a second, you're injured. Why are you here working? And the husband goes, how do you know my wife is injured? I said, because I can see it in her energy. It's clear. And then the woman goes, yeah, I was in the hospital, but I had to check out because I had to get back to work because we have a family and me and my husband work here. And if I stayed in the hospital, we wouldn't be able to pay our bills. And so the guy, I walked him, I took him to Polk Street there's this shelter there. And then I went to my dad's office. I said, why did you run? And my dad's secretary was like, you need to go talk to him right now. And I went in his office and he fell down and he started crying. And he's like, I failed you as a father. And I said, no, Daddy, you didn't fail me as a father. You were just doing what you knew how to do and the best that you knew how. Yeah. And he goes, and you're not angry at me? I said, Dad, I love you. I am who I am supposed to be, and I will always be who I'm supposed to be. And, it's okay. And he just started crying in my arms. And from that day, me and my father had the best relationship. Yeah. And all the way to the point where he died, And he was such an instrumental figure in my life because my mom left me when I was 2, and he raised me and my sister Angelina. And he was even though he was tough and the beatings were horrible, he was wise. Yeah. And he had a lot of wisdom, and he was very strong, and he was very capable. And at a very early age of my life, he gave me a lot of luxury. Yeah. And then my father had a bad business deal and had to file bankruptcy, and we lost all the money. And I'll never forget the days they started coming and, taking away things.
Out the TV.
Yeah, taking things out, Yeah. And my dad was like, he goes, if I was a white man, I would have probably blown my head off with a shotgun, but I'm not. And I am going to get through this, but we have to leave the country club, and we have to, there's just a lot of things.
Over,
yeah. And I was okay with it. Yeah. I was like, maybe now my father will spend time with me. Maybe now, my stepmom had a hard time. She had to go see a counselor, and I don't know why, because that costs money. Yeah. And she couldn't shop the way she usually shops, which is outrageous, the way she shopped. And when you look at like these old 80s films where you see like the mom shopping and everyone's like spending a lot, these wealthy families, that's what my family was like. Yeah. And I decided to get a job at Noah's Bagels, which was my first job I ever had in my entire life. And it didn't go so well because I didn't know that when you get a job that you don't own the place, that you actually work there. Yeah. So I would be working behind the cash register, giving people bagels, and some people would come in and they'd homeless people, and I would give them bagels, and then people would come in and be like, I'm late. I'm like, you know what, just take the bagel. Yeah. So I was very not aware of
they fired you, huh?
They fired me. It fired me. And I got fired a couple times before I actually realized that there was something, that I needed to learn. Yeah.
Someone has to pay for this.
Yeah. And then I decided that I started working in a warehouse and putting like videotapes from Blockbuster on these trucks. And my boss said to me, you were late today. If you're late one more time, I'm going to fire you. And I'm like, so you're going to take my money away that I've worked so hard for? And he's like, yeah. And that was the moment I made a decision. I went home. I told my sister, I said, I'm never going to work for another person again. I decided to go to National Holistic Institute, which is where you get a degree in health education, and you study Eastern and Western therapies for healing, like massage therapy and shiatsu, and you learn about putting your business together and everything. And I graduated from that school with a degree in health education, and you get to work with cadavers. Like it's an amazing school. And I opened up my own healing center, and I learned that I would never ever work for a human being again because I didn't want anyone to have power over my money. And
you kept that promise?
Yeah. Uh-huh. I've never to this day.
Yeah. Fascinating. I was I'm jumping back and forth obviously.
Yes, I figured, because that's why I'm being random, because you're being random.
I love it. I love the randomness, and I love I love the turns.
Yes.
But yeah, we were talking about the gay things and all that. But what do you think about it, and how do you feel about, in this time, now the new EU regulations is that you're going to learn in school that it's not only, you know, normal relationship and gay. Now you can choose between 48 genders.
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
Yeah, that's totally crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And what is that to do with anything and the way you see it? You know, because I know what I feel about it, but...
You know...
but what is it? What are they trying to do? Is it just...
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it is. And
confuse the young...
I mean, I feel like things are really confusing to me already with all of these different names that you have to call each other.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know? I don't really understand what that represents. To me, just love who you want to love, be with whoever you want to be with. Yeah. Why does it have to be like some code or something, some box that you put yourself in? That's the reason why I never called myself gay or bisexual is because that was a word created by the system to categorize. Yeah. I created my own word, soul sexual. Yeah. And I don't really adhere to boxes. So
now it's 49 then.
That's crazy.
Because it's so sexual as well.
Yeah, no, I had a friend who came home in Germany, and her daughter was told that her daughter was talking about that she had to write a paper on all the different sexes that you can be, and the mom was crying on the phone to me. She's one of my good friends. Yeah. And she was just crying, and I was just like trying to help her through it, but it just blows my mind.
Yeah, because I see the young kids, you know, when in puberty, you're already frustrated, you try to figure out who you are, and then they put on 48, you can decide, you know, it's just whacking them more up. All right, so...
I think that kids should be kids and be kids as long as you can. Yeah. You know, that was always something I've always believed in very strongly, is kids should be long as they can, and they shouldn't be exposed to things. You can talk to them about it, but they shouldn't be exposed to it at school. Like, here's all the different sexes. Yeah, you're already starting to put them in categories and telling them you have to choose. And I don't think that's a fair way to raise kids.
No. And also you can change gender. You could, you know, when you're 8. Yeah. And if a parents tell them, no, you can't, then you can go to jail.
Yeah.
Fencing their privacy.
Yeah.
You know, but they have to wait till they're 18 to drive a car.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sure a lot of people will probably be annoyed at me for saying that, but I just don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. So I just think it's sick. But this throws me over to the state of this country and this world, and what can we do to save it? Because I think it's totally crazy all over the place these days. And how can we help? What's happening?
Well, you know, I don't like to look at it as the world is falling apart or anything like that, because I am a dreamer of possibility.
I think sorry to interrupt, but I think it's, people call it, the world is going under. So I don't think the world is going under, because it never will, but the world is going over. I'm saying it's going over to a different phase.
Yes, it is. I feel like systems are falling apart, and that's what's causing a lot of fear for a lot of people. And as far as Norway is concerned, it's going to get more challenging for Norway if they don't start learning how to just be open to different people and different cultures and different ways of life, because crises are going to continue to happen, and things are going to continue to happen, and they're going to be interfaced with more and more different types of different type of people, different personalities, different cultures. And the world is going to have to become more accepting and loving and embracing of people, instead of just pushing them away because they're different.
Yeah, that goes for the whole world, not only
Norway,
you know?
I think Norway is a xenophobic society. China's a xenophobic society. Japan. The thing about Japan is they're not 100% xenophobic, because I have a lot of Japanese friends who are super open, who are way up there when it comes to, like, you know, power figures, you know, and they're very open to other ideas and concepts, whereas other cultures aren't, you know. And I think there comes a time where we have to stop barricading and start integrating and start learning about each other. Doesn't mean you have to change who you are. It doesn't mean you have to change your ways. It just means that you have to understand that someone may see something different than you do, and you don't have to
open your eyes to, maybe you can change your view as well.
You can, but you don't have to hate them.
No, or kill them,
or you know, wish them horrible things and say horrible things to them, and think that those things are actually going to, you know. For me, I have to say, I'm really happy that I'm so resilient, and I'm glad that my father made me very tough and that I can withstand anything. So for me, I'm happy because if I didn't have that and I came to Norway not having that, I probably wouldn't be living right now.
Yeah.
Because that's how much attack verbally, press-wise, everything would have driven a normal human being insane. You know, I think there's no Norwegian on the planet who could handle what me and Märtha go through. Wow. And it takes a lot of meditation. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of family time and really cultivating that love and that support with each other to be able to handle these intensities that take place. And I feel bad that, you know, I remember when I first even met Ari, I remember the first thing he said to me was, the press, you know, tries to destroy you. Wow. And I looked at him and he was like, but I think you'll handle it much better than I did. And I said, well, I don't know about that because I haven't really experienced it completely other than just my first welcoming at the airport. He goes, oh no, it's going to come more.
What do you think now?
Now I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. I think they're trying to make me a terrorist. People say horrible things to me as if I was the one killing kids in other countries and being a terrorist and blowing up buildings. I mean, I can see that you tell a rapist or someone who's a terrorist or these type of things and you're angry about what they're doing and you kind of go to that level of vulgarity. Wow. But just because someone has a different spiritual belief than you, or because you read something that wasn't actually correct and you never asked the person what it really meant, you just assume that's what it is, and then you just go, you know.
Why do you think they do that?
You know, I think
to sell papers, have likes.
I mean, I am a money maker for the press, that's for sure. I'm a money maker, right? But I think, why do the press do that? I don't know. I feel like some press have an agenda.
Because is this just in Norway or is it, you know, in other countries as well?
No, I have great relationships with People Magazine, and I have a great relationships with a lot of the tabloids in America and England too. Yeah, England and Turkey and Israel and Italy and Spain and Mexico, like all of these different places.
So it's Norway
and France. Yeah. And you know, and sometimes Germany, depending, because a lot of times they take their stuff from Norway, Sweden. I mean, I was in Sweden in the press way before I met Märtha. Yeah. I was in major magazines in Sweden and doing a lot of amazing things with a lot of the business people in Sweden. But I think the thing is that there's a lot of things that it's about being with Märtha. And it's the things that I say that can really jar people because they're reading it from press.
Yeah.
They're
not shocking to them.
It's shocking. But even if it's shocking, right, then just write me in my DMs and say, hey, I'm completely shocked by what you said. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, what's up?
What's up?
Yeah.
Not let me go and attack you and assume what you mean and then write off of whatever the press says. Yeah. Because remember, the press is sensationalism. It's all about getting a rise out of you.
Yeah, and clickbait.
So you can hit that button and go, I want to read more about this, right?
Obviously.
So for me, it's like there's so many other real big problems happening in the world, especially in Norway. Mm-hmm. Why am I on every paper? Why am I the focus of everyone's attention? Because I'm with Märtha? Or is it because I am the color of my skin? Well, I know that has a lot to play in it as well. People say to me, "Oh, there's no racism in Norway."
But it's the things you say, obviously, as
and
well.
The things I say. But I think it's a threefold. I think it's the things I say, the color of my skin, and the fact that I'm with Märtha. And I think it kind of plays all into it.
That's a good omelet there.
Yeah, a good omelet there. Yeah. You know, each person has their reason, and I can tell which ones are racist and which ones aren't, because racism to people of color means that you are looking at things from a curve. Yeah. So I'll explain to you what a curve is so you can understand.
Yep.
So if you look at a black person or a person of color and you already assume that they're bad without wanting to see that they're good, you have what is called micro racism in you. I've actually said this at a dinner party here in Norway, and people are like, oh, I guess I have micro-racism. You're right.
Yeah.
Because micro-racism is meaning that you're not like hardcore racist, but you are racist in your upbringing, in the way you think. So your way of processing people is based on the knowledge and information that you have towards that culture or that race. Yeah. So instead of going, he can't be all that bad that the press is making, so let me go reach out to him and see what this is really about, because there's no one who can be that bad, right? I mean, they're making me sound like Märtha's marrying a terrorist, you know? So to me, when someone just flat out calls me names and goes for the jugular.
In the streets as well?
No, in the streets, I'm loved. In the streets, I walk around, teenagers hoard around me and take pictures, and you know, people come up to me in restaurants and say, oh my God, I love what you're doing. I love how you're shaking up things here. And
so it's just the press?
No, there's people in the press. There's a small group of people, I call them the disgruntled people, who have an issue with those three things. And then there are people who know about the press, but don't say anything about it, but tell their friends. Because I have a lot of Norwegian friends, and their friends are always like, yeah, my friend is like, why are you friends with this guy? They're like, because what you see and what you read is not who he is, you know? And my buddies are always like, and my female Norwegian friends are like, this is ridiculous, you know? That's fine. But the ones, when I'm on the street and I go out, people are like, get drunk, and they all love me, you know? All the time. When I'm at a party, whatever, as soon as people are getting drunk and having fun, they're hanging on me. Oh my God, I love you. I love how you're making people think about things here. You're shaking people's, way of thinking. And, you know, we need that right now. We need change. We need this, you know, and I get that from the people. Teenagers come around me. I was at Palma Sus. I was like hundreds and hundreds of teenagers chasing me down the street. I'm used to it, and I give them my love. Märtha always walks away, but I always stop and make sure I give time to the kids, talk to them, find out how they're doing in school, what they're up to, what's inspiring them, what kind of creative things are they getting into, what's their favorite music, what do they like on TikTok, you know, because I want them to know that I'm really interested in them, and I'm not just this, you know, public figure who's just like, here, take the picture and buy, you know? What I find is that there are people like, I mean, I think I deleted 900 hate messages a couple days ago. You know, and anytime someone leaves a message on my Instagram or whatever, they get immediately blocked when it's not coming from love, because I have a tribe of people who follow me from all over the world. They don't want to sit there and listen to your complaints when you don't even know me. When these people have taken workshops with me and have spent weeks with me and retreats and have dedicated their lives to remembering the information that I'm sharing with them so that they can be their best selves. And here comes someone saying, you this, you charlatan, you blah, blah. We just block them because people complain to me. They're like, these Norwegians, I'm so sick of them being on your page. Can we just get them off? Can you just keep blocking them? Because they're not bringing anything to the table other than just criticism from a very hateful place. So we block them. So it doesn't make sense for people to get on their computers or their phones and write anything because they're going to get blocked. And then they'll never have access to me. Because once blocked, you'll never be unblocked. And I remember there was this one.
So there's one chance.
You get one chance. You get one chance. And Märtha does the same. She blocks people. Because we just don't have time to disrupt our page. Our page is for the people who want to hear what we have to say. And we don't have time for people going into that and trying to disrupt it with their conceptions and ideas and concepts of who they think I am when they've never sat down with me for tea. They never had dinner with me. They're not sitting here like you and I right now. They didn't call me up and say, hey, let's do a podcast.
Let's do a podcast, Yeah,
I want to get to know you. Right? So I don't give energy to that. And they don't get my, you know, I started responding to people at one point, and then my sister said, stop responding to them, just block them.
And then it starts frustrating you as well, probably.
It's a waste of time.
It's hurtful, isn't it, as well, probably.
It's hurtful, but I grew up with a lot of pain.
So
my pain tolerance is a bit different than some people's pain tolerance. So people act like assholes.
But again, you're an emotional human being.
I am an emotional human being, but I choose to realize that what they're saying and what they're doing has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. So you understand that.
Yeah, because in shamanism, we have this belief that if you say something nice to someone, it's because you see that within yourself. Yeah. If you say something bad to someone, it's also because you see that in yourself. It's all mirrors, huh? Yeah. So why would I take your projection of what you think about me when it's coming from a very dark place? Yeah. I want to lift people, and I want to be lifted. I don't want to walk around people who are just constantly wanting to put people down. Yeah. Those are bullies, and I don't have time for that nonsense. No. And I can't have people around my kids, which, Emma, Leia, and Maud are my heart and soul. I cannot have dysfunctional people.
This
poison around them. Our home, I like to protect the kids. Me and Märtha, that's our first priority is the kids. Yeah. That's the reason why I'm moving to Norway, at some point, is because it's for the kids. If not, I would not move to Norway.
No, you wouldn't.
At all.
What about Märtha moving away from Norway?
She would move immediately.
All right.
Because
where would you move?
Probably Portugal or Italy or California. Yeah. Yeah.
But LA is pretty down the drains these days.
I don't think so. No? I love LA.
Oh yeah.
It's very creative,
I just talked to some LA friends and they say it's bad.
I'm not sure what they're talking about. I haven't witnessed that.
All right.
But then I live a different lifestyle in LA than most people. Yeah. Right? So I live a very different lifestyle. So maybe my perspective of LA wouldn't be the best perspective to basically for the conglomerate of LA. Yeah. But I think I'm a much more European type person, and I think Märtha is too. So we probably split our time between LA and Europe. But we want to be here for Emma, and we know Emma, wants to go to school here, and so that's what we're sticking it out for the kids. Yeah, it's always about the kids.
That's coming.
Yeah, it's always about the kids. You have to put the kid. If you're gonna have kids, you got to put your kids first before your own needs. And that's the reason why I would move here. But trust me, I wouldn't move here if it wasn't for the kids.
It's up to you to put it like this.
Yeah, because I want to be around people who see possibility and want to truly be happy and celebrate and aren't so, every little thing I do, the press is on me. I take a helicopter ride with my buddy who's a famous director, and they talk about it. I could eat food a certain way and they talk about it. It's just like,
whatever you do.
Yeah. I mean, it's too much. And like a lot of my celebrity friends, they see it and they're just like, why are you there? Like, what are you doing?
But isn't it anything positive?
Yeah. Like I said, I have a lot of great friends.
From the press.
No.
Never?
I mean, Vege came and sent an amazing journalist to LA to follow me and get to know me. And I thought that was beautiful. But I haven't really had press tell the truth about me.
All right. Yeah.
The press doesn't tell the truth about me. They're not non-biased. They go and get politicians and people and doctors and whatever who hate me already to talk in the press. You're not getting someone in Norway who believes in me.
No.
That's not non-biased. So you're a non-biased press, and you think you have the authority to use that type of power to try to hurt someone and their reputation because you have the power to do so. And that's called misuse of power. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but I don't get that from British press. I don't get that from, Daily Mail. But the Daily Mail is just whatever. Yeah. But I don't get that from, when I'm in America. And some of my best friends are press people. Wow. They're journalists. And they don't do that to me because they sit down with me and they learn who I am. Yeah. You never hear, I was on a TV show, for instance, in Sweden just now with the Parneviks. And did you see any of that in the Norwegian press? No. You know why? Because they don't want people to see what I can do.
All right. Yeah.
They don't want people to see, ooh, Durek actually is doing something. Yeah. Did any of the stuff that I did in the TV show, The Doctors, when you know how hard it is to get, first of all, to be a regular cast member in The Doctors and a show that is all about doctors who are real doctors. And for me to get in that door took so much for them to believe in me that I could do the things that I said I could do. And you didn't see Norway talking about it. No. You don't see Norway talking about let me do some research on him and the things he did in Israel. There's so many Israeli magazines that talk about the things that I did. There's so many Turkish books. I wrote a Turkish book called Uyanış, which became a book that was taught in college in Turkey, that Turkish people in Turkey love me there. And I helped really bring about women empowerment to the Muslim women in Turkey and the Israeli community in Turkey, and as well as a lot of the conglomerates in Turkey. I was the first shaman on major television in Turkey, which has never been done, primetime TV. I had my own talk show as a foreigner in their country.
That's pretty crazy in a Muslim country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But since you mentioned Israel, what do you think about Israel now? What's going on? Like,
I don't even want to go into that. All I know is
energy-wise. I mean, spiritually.
It's been that way since I first lived in Israel. I spent time with Israelis and I've spent time with Palestinians. Yeah. And it's just horrible, it's just, why can't people just come to a place of understanding how to
give each other a hug?
Yeah. And why do we have to keep using war and ways to solve problems in our world, on our planet? I mean, at some point, maybe before I die, maybe after I die, the human beings on this planet will realize that war is really only for those who want to be rich. Yeah. And it's obsolete for the other people.
Yeah, totally. But don't you, because I mean, don't you think it is call it a galactic war as well? Like
there's a spiritual war.
Yeah, spiritual war between good and bad, if you will.
I wouldn't say it like that.
No, all right.
I would say, because I talk to spirits who are in the darkness, and I talk to spirits in the light. It's not that they're having a war. It's that they are participating in human free will. So if a human being chooses to be negative, then a spirit from the darkness will serve them be negative. Yeah. And if a human being chooses to be loving and positive and kind and loving. And just, just in the space of operating the intention to bring good into the world, then a spirit of the light will support them.
All right.
So is it war with the spirits? No, because angels don't war. The spirits of the light don't war because they don't know what it means. It's we who created the war.
Yeah, all right.
We created the war, and we are stuck in a dualistic world that utilizes the powers of darkness and the powers of light to set our intentions and the way in which we want things to be. We don't look out for life. We don't see life as the greatest commodity in the world, greater than money, greater than your car, greater than whatever it is that you think you own or have or could ever achieve to create. Life is the most important. And the way we should treat life is with respect. So when you talk to someone, you should be kind and loving because you're honoring life. Because you don't know, like I was with Märtha walking through this park, and I was saying hello to everyone. And Märtha was like, please stop saying hello to everyone. It's embarrassing. And I said, it's embarrassing for you because you are Norwegian and you live in the disguise that you're not allowed to talk to people. But I am American and I want to know how people are doing.
That's what I love about America, by the way.
So I'm saying hello to everyone and everyone is saying hello back. And this one guy I say hello to, and he looks up at me and he puts his head down. And then, later on, we get home and the guy wrote me on Instagram saying it was my birthday and I was at the point where I just didn't feel like living anymore. And I was looking for a sign and you said hello to me and started talking to me. And that was a sign that I needed. So I showed it to Märtha and I was nice. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. You don't realize the impact you have on someone's life by your behavior.
Yeah. Be nice to them. Just like to the girl in the store and say, hi. Hey,
yeah, like I look at, for instance, Ari. When I first met Ari, I said, here is this talented genius, an artist, a poet, a person who's a playwright, has so many gifted talents, and the press makes him to be a clown and thinks that that's helping him in his spirit to be powerful, to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel nurtured. And then it was such, to me, and I'll be honest about it, I was angry about it because here's this brilliant man. And see, people don't understand that I don't have jealousy in me. So I can hang out. Like my sister, for instance, her husband is best friends with her ex-husband and they own a dog grooming business together and are always on television together. When I met Ari, I didn't go in like, oh, that's your ex-husband. No, I was like, oh, let me meet this amazing man who brought love into your life and you guys had children with. Yeah. So So I met him, you know, and I was very loving, and, you know, and that's just who I am, you know, and everything. And when he was telling me about all the things he went through and the time he had to throw down a gauntlet because he had to like confront the press, and I was just sound horrible, you know, and I was thinking, why would they do that to you? Even the day when he got married, they like did something to him, you know, and it was like, why would you do this to this kind man?
It's our culture.
Who's an artist.
No way.
So he's very sensitive.
Yeah, very sensitive.
And then everyone's calling him a clown, making fun of him and all this kind of stuff. And then when he dies, everyone's boo-hoo-hoo. Oh my God.
And then everybody's his friend all
of a sudden.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
Yeah. Like this.
That's fake. That's fake.
So
that's fake
so
to me.
Yeah,
you know what we call, me and my buddy Lars call fake? We call it faff.
Faff.
Do you know what faff is?
No.
Fake as fuck.
Fake as fuck.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll be like, my buddy Lars or my friend Bjorn will say to me, oh yeah, that person's being faff. I was like, yeah, they're being faff for sure.
Yeah.
Fake as fuck. Yeah. Because if you really think that you don't take any responsibility for acknowledging your behaviors and what you do to other people, what if I was this weak person who was in love with Märtha, right? And the press started attacking me, and the people started calling me names and death threatening me and all that, and then I decided to kill myself too. Because I can't handle it.
You think you've been a hero then?
I don't think I'd be a hero. No. I think I would just be, oh, it happened again to her.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it'd be that one. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would never do it because I love the children and I love her and I love my family and I love myself and I have respect for life and I love people on this planet and I love this planet and I love God. Yeah. And when you love God, you love what God created. So why would I destroy something that God created? Yeah. But there are people who lose it. Yeah. Because they can't take it anymore.
Yeah, of course they can't take the pressure.
They can't take the pressure. Yeah. So the reason why I say, like, when I talk about Norway, yes, there are beautiful things about Norway. I love the countryside.
Beautiful people.
There's beautiful people. I've met so many beautiful people and I've made so many new friends here. And I'm so honored by all of them. Yeah. What I have an issue with Norway is the fear that people use to attack people for stepping out of the box, but they would never want that for themselves. No. Yeah. And it's like, there's an old saying in the Bible, and I like to use this a lot in Norway because I have to remind the Norwegians who claim to be religious because they don't follow their own religion. Yeah.
But they're not spiritual. They're just religious.
Yeah, but even religion, they don't follow it because if they did, they wouldn't make their comments. Yeah. And the truth is, God says, which is, one, it's realizing that you shouldn't judge, because that's a big one. Yep. But the other one is that you, as a person, do not cause harm to another person. It's the understanding of, and I just actually, a friend of mine who's religious just wrote it to me yesterday, but it's understanding that you're taking responsibility. So do unto others as others do unto you.
That's what I want to say, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where have I heard the level of hate and the level of vulgarity and the level of craziness that I get from people who write me? What have I done to you that deserved that? Yeah. That's what goes through my mind. That's what goes through Märtha's mind. Yeah. What have we done to you that was so horrible just by believing like something different that you would behave like this? Yeah. Because I said something that you didn't understand, you should have asked me. Because you don't understand shamanism and you don't know the way we think, you should ask me. You decided to believe that I said, don't go see your doctor or don't go see your psychiatrist or don't go seek help from a professional for suicide. And you just assume that that's what I mean because I'm putting up a post on my Instagram and I didn't do like for you Norwegians, before I go ahead and post this post, I want you to know that you should all go see your doctor and go see your psychotherapist or go get the help from any organization that can support you at this time. And then leave my message, but it wouldn't just be for, it would just be for the Norwegians.
What about like the rap records, explicit, the tag you have on the...
special warning or something.
You should have that.
Yeah. And it's just for Norwegians. Yeah. Because every time I talk,
warning.
This is what they think, right? Yeah. I didn't do something. I'm not a terrorist. I didn't do anything that bad to get that much hate. And that is really sad and unfortunate that someone from a different viewpoint and different way of thinking.
You're a tourist, not a terrorist.
Yeah, but I'm actually a Scorpio, quadruple Scorpio to be exact. But anyway, I do still love the people, and I still do love the people, and will still love the people, and do continue to make my life here when I can until I get here permanently. And I love the cultures. I love the bunads, and also
you love the fashion.
Yeah, and the fact that my great grandfather would like tip oldefun. Was the founder of folk music that gave the music to Petter Dass. So I have a lot of roots in Norway. Yeah. And I love those roots, and I love the connections to those energies. And, perhaps over time, people will take some time to actually get to know me on a real level, or they won't. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good one.
Yeah, I enjoy talking to you.
I've enjoyed talking to you as well. So now we're going to jump again.
Go ahead, let's jump. Let's jump. Let's jump.
Who was that again? Those kids, jump, everybody, jump.
Kid and Play?
No, Crisscross. Chris with the pants.
Kid and Play was the ones who did it, but Crisscross was the one with the pants. That's right.
I wear my pants like that.
You do?
Yeah. Not anymore, but back then.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I did my pants more peg style, peg-like. I was a preppy.
Oh, you were a preppy. All right. So I've been wondering about, like, who's your spirits and who's your helpers and who's the spirits you talk to?
Well, I'm not going to talk about all the spirits I talk to, but the spirits that I talk to are my ancestors.
Yeah.
Different tribal elders. Like I have an elder from the Kuba tribe. An elder from the Mende tribe, which is where my family's roots come from. The elder from the Umbutu tribe, which is where my roots come from, and the Yoruban. And then I talk to, of course, my aunts, my grandmothers, my grandfathers,
your father,
my dad, and then I talk to nature spirits. I talk to angels. I talk to other beings that chose to be my guides in this lifetime. And then I talk to spirits. If I have to talk to a spirit in the darkness to understand why someone's going through a hardship, then I'll find out and talk to that spirit to get clarity to what we need to do in order to release it.
All right.
But my team is pretty powerful, and they have helped me out of some very difficult situations. I've tested them they've tested me actually. I take that back. I take that back, you guys. Because like one time, for instance, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
There was a time where I was in disbelief about the spirit. Yeah. Because there's times you question it.
Yeah, of course.
I was younger. Yeah. I was living in Sardinia.
Oh, Sardinia. I had a boat in Sardinia.
Oh, nice. I was living in Porto Cervo.
Alghero.
And and I was invited to work with this prince. And he was Prince, I think his name was Prince Giovanelli. And he invited me to come to Porto Rotondo, where he was at his villa. And I went to work with him, and I thought maybe he would pay me, and I would take, because I forgot my wallet. And when I realized it, I only had enough money for one-way ticket there in the taxi.
Yeah.
And it's if you ever take a car ride from Porto Cervo to Porto Rotondo, it's on the other side of the island. It's a very far drive.
It's a very far drive.
So
3-4 hours.
3-4 hours. Yeah. And so I got there and I was like, okay, I had enough money for the taxi. I had no more money because I forgot my wallet because I was rushing out of the house, and I should have, my friend Daisy from Brazil was like, don't forget your wallet. And I forgot anyway, so it's fine. And I went and worked with him. And then after I was like, can you pay me? And he said, I'm a prince. I don't pay anything. You're lucky that I'm even working with you. You should be proud. Mm-hmm. Then he had the Cabaneri take me out of the villa, and I was roaming the beach. It was getting dark. It was getting cold. I didn't have a jacket. And so I said, okay. One part of me was going to start going into panic. And then I said, you know what? I have to trust my guides. Yeah. So I said, spirit guides,
help me.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And they said, go to the center of town, find a restaurant, cafe that has yellow awning, like yellow thing that sits out above the restaurant. Yeah. Find a table and sit, and help will come for you. Now, when you hear something like this, my brain was like,
Come
okay, I've lost my mind.
Yeah.
Like, what if I go there and nothing happens? And then I'm just
what then?
like, then what? You know? Then the other part of me was like, do I just go up and down where the boats are and ask someone to
But you hear that like voices?
Yeah, voices.
Yeah, and picture, do you see them?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Voices and picture.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, I could just go up in the, where the boats are and see if someone will help me or, give me food, a place to sleep or something.
A black guy asking for money.
Right. But that doesn't go really well. So I was thinking, okay, that's not going to work.
And not in Italy.
No.
No.
Especially in Porto Rotondo, where everyone has money and then they're like, who's this guy?
The yachts. And
Yeah. So I said, I'm just going to trust.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust what I hear. So I went to the center of town in the centro and went to the center of town, found this place and sat down, and it was Cafe Voglio. And I sat down right under the yellow awning on this table, and I just sat there. And then this woman came and she sat next to the table next to me, and she was sitting there. And then she looks over at me and she goes, "Ciao, ragazzo." I said, "Ciao." She said, "Why are you here?" in Italian. And I said to her in Italian, "I'm here because you probably think I'm crazy, but my spirits told me to come here and wait." Mm-hmm. And she goes, "Oh, eccolo qua." She goes, "Oh my God, you are the one that I've been sent to help." And I go, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "I am an artist. I was in my studio painting. I was washing my brushes and I decided to meditate. And as I was meditating, my guides told me that they had a thing for me to do, to drive to the center of town and find someone sitting here under the yellow awning, and that I was supposed to take you and take care of you. So come with me." So I go with her, and the spirit said to me, "Do you believe in us now?" And it was this clear, resounding yes in me. It changed my life. Yeah. And that's not the only time they've been there. I was in Israel, and I used to eat at this one restaurant in Allenby with all my friends. And all my friends would meet up at my house in Schenken, and we would walk all the way down to this restaurant in Allenby. And one day I'm walking down the streets, and all these different things, these noises were really intense. And this one woman was putting a new glass on her window to her shoe store, and she almost dropped it. And the workers almost dropped it. And my friends were walking, and I said, "You guys, something's wrong. I need to talk to my guides." And my guides were already talking to me. And they're like, "We've been trying to get your attention, but you've been so preoccupied with everything around you. Do not go to that restaurant today." And I said, "Why?" They're like, "Tragedy. Do not go to that restaurant. Go to the one on the beach." So I told all my friends, "We're going to not go eat there." They're like, "Well, that's our hangout spot." I said, "We're not going there. So whoever our friends who are going to meet us there, get on the phone now. We said, and call them and tell us to meet them on Heracon Street, where we're going to go eat at the Limon." So we go to the Limon on Heracon, and the bomb goes off.
In that restaurant.
First, we hear the bomb. And in Israel, when a bomb goes off, everyone just stands quiet. Yeah. Because what the bombers try to do is they try to bomb you the second time. So anyone who runs to save those people, they get bombed too. So we wait, and then everyone starts talking after a while. And everyone's like, "What blew up?" And they're like, "The restaurant in Allenby." And I was like, "Allenby 51? And they're like, "Yeah." And my friends are like, "Oh my God, you just saved our life. Like, this is crazy. Like, we could have been in that bomb." To this day, like, my best friend in Israel, like, we all talk about it. Yeah. And I wrote it in my book, actually, about that day. And again, it was because of my guides.
All right.
And even meeting Märtha.
So now you believe.
Oh, I believe. I don't doubt.
You don't doubt.
I don't doubt at all.
No.
And, and I have clients who are high profile, from presidents to politicians to huge celebrities, to the housewife, to the blue collar worker, to the construction worker, to the man changing oil on a car. And they're all my clients. Yeah. And they come to me because I help them to see clearly their path and what things they need to take into their life. Because everyone knows that when I talk to spirit, I'm not playing games. Yeah. Like, this is for real. Yeah. And that's what Märtha saw when she first met me, was that she came, first of all, when I first heard that she was who she was, I canceled the date because I didn't want to have anything associated to that, because I'm a play video games guy, you know, wild child, you know, grew up in Hawaii and California, you know, riding my skateboard and like, you know, I wasn't thinking.
I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah.
But then my friend Serena, who is one of my good friends who will be at my wedding, who's an amazing friend of mine, she was running my friend Dave Asprey's company. And her and Dave were like, why won't you go meet with her? And, you know, I was like, well, you know, I don't think we're going to be a match from when I found out who she is. And they're like, but how do you know? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, have you asked the spirits? I'm like, no, I don't want to ask the spirits. They're like, why? Because, you know, you're trying to run.
Yeah.
So my friend Serena was like, Selena. Selena says, I think you're running. I think you should go meet her.
You're hiding.
And you're hiding and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I decided to I had my assistant contact her team. And we ended up, I was renting a house in the Hollywood Hills at the time. I was living in London and I was in town for this TV job. And my assistant and everyone, I told them I'm going to have 1 hour with her. So, you know, because I have a lot of things I have to do. And she came in and I looked in her eyes and that was it. And she said to me, the first thing out of her mouth was, I remember you.
Okay.
And I remembered her too, but I didn't want to say it. What I did say was, we were destined to meet before time. And I don't know why I said that, but it came out of my mouth nonetheless. And we met in the dining room and my assistant had all the stuff set up in the dining room for us to eat. And she came with a friend, her friend Hege, and another friend, I can't remember his name. And we had food and we talked and had a great time. And then her friend handed me pictures and was like, what do you see with my kids? And what do you see with this? And then I would tell them what I saw. And then her friend was like, oh my God, you're really good. And I was like, and then she's like looking at me. And then after that words, Hege was like, well, do you do healing sessions? I said, yes, of course. And then I took her into the room and was doing healing. And then Märtha was watching. And she was smiling and looking at me. And then after she left, and then her person came back and said she would like your telephone number and she wants to stay in touch with you. And then we talked on phone for like 4, 5, 6 hours, sometimes till the sun would rise. And we could never stop talking with each other. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew to this beautiful relationship with one another.
And love at first sight, huh?
Love at first sight, but I wasn't, remembering it,
Yeah.
but I wasn't ready to agree to it.
To acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it. That's the better word. That's the better word.
Yeah.
She acknowledged it, but she wanted to see where I was at.
Were you afraid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you meet the person that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with, and
I know how that feels.
Yeah. And you're like the playboy who dates girls and like, you know, I was free. I wasn't in that crazy relationship that I was in before. And I knew personally, I knew right there on the ayahuasca ceremony, by the way. Wow.
But I was the same as you. I was like, all right, I'm this bad boy living my life as I, and drugs, and, So what we did, we went to my cabin, spent 6 months together, and I told her everything. And I said, now you can decide.
Yeah, I did the same with Märtha.
And then she said, I'm still on board.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened with Märtha. So the first time with Märtha, we hung out and I sat down and I said, before you start getting into me and whatnot, I'm going to tell you every single thing about my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the disgusting, the vile, the foul. There's a country music song actually that I love. I have to look at my phone and get the name of it, but it's where she says, give me your ugly, give me your darkness. Yeah. And I love that country song. And it's exactly like I dedicated that song to Märtha because it was like, she's like, lay it out. Yeah. Lay all of it. Like, don't.
You have to do it that way.
Yeah. Don't hold back. Just throw it all on the table.
Did she do the same?
She did.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay.
Yeah. Let's do this.
And I still love you.
Yeah. And now you're getting married.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, can you believe that?
Yeah, you looking forward to it? Are you afraid of it? Is it scary? A little bit scary.
Of course.
Huh? Yeah, but it is, huh?
I'll probably be crying like a baby.
Yeah.
You know, when I proposed to her, I was crying. I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth. I was on the ground. I'm kneeling with the ring, and I was sobbing and shaking. It's like, but you know, us guys, you know, it's so funny because we always pretend to be so strong when it comes to relationships, but in truth, we're like these little
soft little boys. But exactly, but that's also with my love now, my you know, my true love, Andrea. It's the same, you know. But all shields down, and I cry like a little baby.
Yeah, like a little baby.
But before I managed to be tough, managed to hold it in. But with her, no chance.
Yeah, me too. Same thing.
If I think about it, I cry.
Yeah, me too.
You know, but it's beautiful.
I mean, I go when I'm in LA and I'm not with her, I'm crying on the phone to her.
We don't have to be tough anymore.
We don't have to be tough.
No.
We don't. And I think that's the whole idea of being a man is like to be able to recognize that.
Yeah, and we're home.
And and we are.
I'm home.
Yeah, and that's what I felt. And I remember I was crying. I couldn't even get the words out. And so she realized I couldn't get the words out. So she's like, yes, I do. But, you know, but it was like, even just leading up to it, you know, from the day one of falling in love with her, I'm an old school jet. Yeah, I'm an old school guy.
Yeah. Did you ask the parents for what do you call it? Did you pass
for the hand in marriage?
For the hand in marriage?
Absolutely. Yeah. I set up a time and a meeting with her parents and asked them. And I said, and if you don't think that we should be together, or you have any reservations about me on any level, or you think I'm not good enough for your daughter, I will walk away from her.
Speak out now.
So tell me now. Be honest about it, you know? And we talked, and then they shared with me their feelings, but they definitely were like, you know, welcome into the family. Absolutely.
That's nice.
And that was nice. Yeah. And I think also too...
Did you cry? Did all you guys cry?
Yes, I cried.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about their majesties.
No. But I did the same. I went on my bike, on my black horse, because I got a black Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
But I went on my white horse to my what do you call it? Parents-in-law?
Yeah, in-laws.
Yeah, in-laws. And I asked them, and we also cried. Cried. We said yes.
Yeah, I cried.
Yes,
I was shaking. I definitely was shaking.
Nervous as fuck.
I was shaking. I was freaking out. I didn't know what they were going to say.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that it went quite well, actually, you know. But I think what happened was, like, you know, with everything with Ari passing, which was really about me putting aside my desires and being there for Märtha and the kids.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah. And also, you have to understand, too, that, you know, for me, I think I'm a really good, you know, support for Märtha, because I don't know many men who would come into a relationship and then the person that they were with before takes their life. And then every day you're listening to your girlfriend reminisce about their time when they first had their first child and they met each other and fell in love and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted Märtha to express all of that. Yeah. I wanted her to get it out, you know, like, tell me how much you loved him. Tell me what it was like when you guys first saw your first child together. Like, these are beautiful moments, and we can never let them go.
No.
You know, because and I think that's important. And being there for the kids and Märtha was important. So I decided to put the proposal aside.
All right.
In respect for her, the kids, the family, and Norway.
Probably wise.
And I didn't propose to her for many years after, because I wanted the kids to properly mourn their father, who was a beautiful soul, and to properly, for Märtha and the family in Norway to mourn him before here's a wedding coming, you know what I mean?
Here's the shaman.
Yeah, and I'm a very respectful person, so I always look at it from the perspective of, like I said, I'm very old school. Yeah. So I'm like, you know, the wedding can wait. Yeah. The wedding can wait. Let's make it about you and the kids right now. Yeah. And whatever that's going to take. And, you know, every Christmas, again, we had to relive it. And I found ways to kind of make it easier and easier for them as every Christmas would come, the whole family would. But I think that you have to be a strong man to instead of running. Because if you any man, you know, Märtha said to me once, she was crying and she said, I know that you're dealing with the press and everyone hating you and death threats and the this and the that. And then if you just walk away from me, it'll all stop. And is that what you want? And I said, well, I don't want all that, but I do want you. So I love you and I love the kids. So I can't
take these
just,
away.
I gotta make a choice, you know, and my love for you and the kids is much more greater than them trying to destroy me, you know?
Yeah.
And or my reputation for that matter.
Yeah, good.
And, you know, and it's been challenging, you know, having people.
It still is, probably.
It's still challenging, yeah.
And it probably will continue.
And I'm sure. And, you know, and of course I'm going to have to fight the good fight when it's time and not fight when it's not time.
Yeah,
but I think that nonetheless, I show the kids resilience. Märtha, I show her resilience and she shows me resilience. And we're a very strong family. We stick together, you know. The kids tell me what they feel. And we share and we listen and we don't have problems in our family. Me and Märtha don't go into fights and arguments and we just don't believe in those things because they're not necessary. I already went through that in a male relationship. I've learned very much.
Insecurity, you know.
Even insecurity, I tell her I'm insecure about this and that, and she goes, "I'm insecure about this and that."
I mean, fights are insecurity.
Yeah,
but
they're power plays. They're power plays, and me and Märtha don't play power games with each other. We don't try to play like I'm right, you're wrong. We play. This is how you see it. This is how I see it. Both of us are right. Now let's look at how we can bring those two stories together.
That's how me and Andrea do things as well.
Yeah,
and that's because of ayahuasca. As we met on ayahuasca, so we have that.
Well, that's a very shamanic way of doing it.
Yeah. So
So ayahuasca taught you that, so that's great.
She taught me that. And, you know, our first meeting was crying, puking, and screaming. And
you were purging.
You were purging for 4 days.
Going through your purge.
Yeah, so it was
with Mother Aya.
Yeah, with my Aya. Have you ever done ayahuasca?
No, I've done other things, but not ayahuasca. I've done ibogaine, and I've done African catbush, and I've done shrooms. And I've done peyote.
Yeah, peyote.
But these were young when I was younger with shamans from different cultures that I got the chance to meet in my journeys and experience it. And I realized it's not for me.
No.
Because the shamans were like, nothing is really changing for you because you're already open to all these things.
I got
you know?
the same message, actually.
Yeah, but I feel...
You don't need us anymore.
You don't need the medicine, you know? You are the medicine.
And you are your own shaman.
Yeah, and I believe that people are their own shaman. I don't believe in hierarchy. They have to remember.
Yeah. And then medicine is good. So you can... remember.
Exactly. Like people always will say, "Oh, Durek, you're just trying to control people." Like my mom will always say in the press, "Oh, you're trying to control people and do all this kind of stuff." It's like, how am I controlling people by telling people to find their own sovereignty and that I'm not their guru and that I don't believe in hierarchies and I'm not better than them and that we're all here to grow and I'm just sharing what's on my buffet tray, and if people want to take from my buffet, great, and if they don't, then they don't, and I still love them.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to force anything down people's throats. And if they want to follow me, they follow me. If they don't, they don't. That's it. But I'm not anyone's guru.
If they don't want to use my tools,
that's it. It's okay. You know, but I want people to be independent. I want people to be less codependent, more independent, more self-reliant, more self-love for themselves, more awareness of who they are. I want people to have a thinking capability outside of what they've been programmed with. And, you know, and to find that space within themselves where once they realize that potential, then what does life look like?
Yeah. Then it would be a happy place.
Could be.
Yeah, I think so.
Depending on that person.
I think love will solve everything if we let it.
Oh, yes.
If we let it.
Of course.
But, you know, it's the danger of letting it.
Yes.
You know. But
that's my favorite song.
All.
Imagine all the people.
Yeah. But that was, that's a beautiful song.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to jump again. Because I had this.
Let's jump.
Yeah, it was just, we love to jump. Jump. Everybody jump. You know, because I've been thinking about this. I thought saw this thing that you were talking about. You were a reptilian. And all that stuff.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Oh, it's a joke.
Yeah, so basically, my friends in California saw that the press is writing everything about me. Yeah. So they're like, why don't you go on and tell people you're a reptilian?
Yeah, that's fucking fantastic.
And so we came up with all kinds of things like, okay, I'm a reptilian and I've come to tell the truth about who I am and whatever. Yeah. And we wanted to see if people would run with it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they ran with it.
Oh, they ran with it.
They did. Yeah. There was this point where a lot of my comedian friends in the States, we were going to make jokes with say things, like wake up in the morning and go in the social media and say, I think I'm a horse reincarnated, you
Oh,
know,
yeah. So you
and
did
just
it
like
all,
take
you
the
just-
piss out of
yeah, you
every
took a piss.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were going to do that, but then Märtha talked us out of it. But, you know,
Yeah,
it was
it's too much, guys.
she's like, the reptilian thing, okay, fine, but just don't do any more of that nonsense. And I was like, oh, come on, babe, it's so much fun. They write everything about me, you know? I want to go in tomorrow and tell them, I think I came from the planet Xenon.
Yeah, because that's what
And that I'm a
doing.
carbon copy of myself from another dimension.
Yeah.
It's like,
So
come
you were
on,
taking a
people.
piss.
I always take a piss.
Yeah, that's fucking funny.
I love taking a piss. That's
Because
why I
I
did
was
the whole
like-
Jack of Tears with my buddies. It's because I like taking a piss. I like making fun of myself.
Yeah.
And I like also making fun of people who think something so strongly, but it's not the truth.
Yeah.
So then I get all these Norwegians writing me going like, you're crazy. You think you're a reptilian. Me and my friends are just laughing our asses off because it's hella funny.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what you did.
Yeah, of course. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I think it's fun.
I was going to do it
do
for a
the
long
same
time,
thing.
but then Märtha stopped me.
Yeah, hold on now.
We had a whole list of things to throw out to the
Tell
press.
me a little bit about the list. That was funny to hear.
Well, one of them was, like I said, I was a horse reincarnate.
Yeah,
Then I was
that's a
going to
good
say
one.
I was a carbon copy. Then I was going to say that I decided that I can no longer be in a relationship with someone because I don't have the ability to master my powers over them. But that Märtha said, oh no, because they're going to believe you and think that you're actually trying to control me. But I had like, we were making them up as we were going along. But then when she stopped, she shut down the shop.
All right, yeah, like
That kind of stopped. But like my American friends find it all funny.
Yeah,
you
it
know,
is funny.
It is
It's
funny. Sometimes I
hilarious.
read stuff and I'm like, oh Lord,
yeah,
what are they going at now?
yeah.
You know, like
But he
I think
gave
the
him
last
little
one,
baits.
the last one was about me and my contract about genitals.
All right. Yeah, I was just gonna ask you about that one.
Yeah,
Your
I'm like,
contract about genitals.
Hello,
What's that all about?
You live in America.
Yeah.
You could bump into someone and your
And they
hand
sue the
swipes
shit out of you.
their genitals by mistake, and they say that you tried to sexually come on to them.
Yeah.
People are cuckoo crazy for money and suing,
Yeah.
especially at this time after the pandemic and everything. People are looking for any which way to get money out of you.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of charlatan creeps and crooks that are running around
Absolutely.
tricking people to getting them to do something and then suing them and then taking them to court.
Yeah. That's what they do.
Winning.
And also politicians and you know that kind of business.
Yeah. And then every time I go to like a celebrity friend's house, whatever, you have to sign a non-disclosure.
Yeah.
You have to everyone is protecting themselves. So my lawyer was like, just in case, because you're working in those areas and just in case someone comes in and talks to you about things sexually, we need to make sure it's all covered in the protection thing that we're writing, because you never know who's coming in the door. And I've had people come in the door who've been Hollywood actresses, I'm not going to give names, who've literally came in with no panties, took off their clothes, and was trying to come on to me. This is way before Märtha.
Ready to go.
Yeah. And like very uncomfortable when I say, can you please put your clothes back on? You know, and then I've had guys do it as well, who are also
But with bad intentions, you think?
with bad intent. Well, they
To
did it
sue you
because they
later.
wanted. No, they were doing it to actually try to come on to me.
All right. Yeah.
But when I said no, then they go and tell everyone, ooh, Durek was trying to come on to me.
Yeah. I had that happening.
You know, and I had that happen in London with this one guy who I was doing a session with, and he came out butt naked. And I said, why are you naked? This is no reason for you to be. And his boyfriend worked with, you know, the Prince Charles and in finance. And I was like, you know, to be able to work with him was a big deal. And he had literally, his boyfriend was coming on to me. And I was so young at the time. I was in my 20s. I didn't know what to do. And I said, this is inappropriate, unethical.
Yeah.
This is unethical and inappropriate. And he started chasing me around the house, and I was scared. And then I just was like, can you just please put your clothes back on? And then he's
And
like, okay. He's like, well, I don't feel like having a session anymore. I'm like, that's fine. You still pay me for my time. And he drove me home. And then I get a phone call from his boyfriend going like, how dare you come on to my boyfriend?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you came on to my boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. And I've even had people before I met Märtha where I'd have guys come in for sessions and they would, you know, at the end of the session say, you know, I want to go on a date with you. And I'm like, well, if I go on a date with you, I have to cancel working with you because it's unethical. And then they would come on to me and whatever. And then they would go and tell their friends, and their friends are like, oh, he lured you. That's why you were attracted to him to come back. No, he asked to go on a date with me. And I said, I can't be your therapist anymore. I can't be the shaman to you anymore. And then try to get money out of me.
Yeah.
And there was like an all kind of planned kind of situation. And I've gotten that a lot. People who are like, I'm going to get money off of you. And then they'll say, well, I came to you and you were touching my lower pelvic region, which I think you were trying to go for my private parts. I'm like, no, I really wasn't. And I'm a Scorpio. I'm pretty straight up. If I wanted to be with you, I'd let you know. I don't need to use my practice to kind of sway you, you know? And sure enough, he was trying to sue me, and he couldn't sue me because he didn't really have a case, and I got a lawyer, and he was just trying to get money. Yeah. And it's always trying to get money or trying to get fame or trying to get something over me or blackmail me. So my lawyer is like, no more. We're going to do it this way. And anytime someone wants to go in that direction, we're going to put an assistant in the room with you. And so that's what I did. Every time someone was like, oh, can you take a look at, my lower pelvic, or, I have impotency issues. What do you think it is? And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, can you hold on for a second? I need to get my assistant. And then my assistant comes in and sits down. I go, do you mind if my assistant sits in this session? They're like, no. That way, there's no way you can say anything happened because another person was there to witness.
And that's off the contract as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So then I decided, I started getting other type of people. I started getting fangirls, fanboys, people who've been following me for so long and finally made an appointment just so they can hang out with me. Yeah. They weren't really serious about coming in. They were like, oh my God, your house. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is that your niece? Oh my God. Is that your sister? I seen her on TV, craziness.
Yeah.
So one woman came in and started punching me, and I had to restrain her and get help. So I decided that I'm not going to see people in person anymore.
Yeah. So you don't?
No.
Only online?
Only online.
Yeah. And that's a good decision, you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. More
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It protects me, and it protects your
family.
My family. It protects us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't have these kind of things
and
going
all
on
these energies
anymore.
As well, that can.
Yeah, and people can say whatever they want to say, and it's my word against their word.
Yeah.
And of course, I hold the one who has to prove it more than they do, because I'm the person they're coming to in a vulnerable state. So that's how people look at it. So then, therefore, they can do whatever they want and get away with it. And
they can't do that through the machine.
And they can't do that through the machine. No.
But you can't work in Norway, so you have to do the sessions outside.
No, I don't work in Norway. But when I do come to Norway, I will have a lawyer draft up a whole new thing about the Norwegian law and how it works. But I don't think I need the non-disclosure and all that here, because it's a very different way.
Yeah, a different way.
Yeah, but you go in America.
Here we have to stand. If we sue someone, we have to, and if we don't win, we have to pay for the whole shebang.
Yeah.
So people don't sue that much here.
Yeah, not. Not in America.
No, there you can sue the fuck you want.
Oh yeah, if I'm roller skating down the street and I bump you and you fall down, it's a $1 million lawsuit.
My lawyer in the States, because I toured there a lot with my band, and he said, do not like proper fall in love with American woman, or you get like really serious, because all of a sudden she can make something up.
Of course she can.
Sue the ass. And if she does, then they take all your assets on freeze.
Yep.
While she's suing you. She could just destroy your life to keep away from American women.
It's true. It's true. One of my friends who's a big celebrity, I can't say his name because he won't like that, but he had a girl that he was out one night with, and she had sex with him and basically put a hole in the condom and basically lied and basically got pregnant from him, and then told him, I need this much money, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why? And she's like, because you raped me. And I know this guy. He doesn't have a bone of rape in his body. No. And he goes, what? And he goes, yeah, you raped me. And that's what I'll tell the press. And you're a big Hollywood star. So if you don't give me the money, you're going to go down regardless if you did it or not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So he ended up, having to pay her. Yeah. And then he found out that she did that with the condom, and he has now a little girl.
Yeah.
Because of
He's
it.
happy about, probably.
Oh yeah, he loves her. He loves it. He loves her. He loves her. He told me, Durek, well, I guess I'm a father now, so I better be a good father. And he's a great father.
It's a shame we have to deal with all this, that we have to behave in this type of ways to secure ourselves.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's ugly. It's ugly. But we're going in for landing.
Okay.
But we have to talk about your feelings about the marriage. How, you know, I'm going to get married. I've been almost a divorce, but it's not engaged for a long time. But we just, the kids are popping up. So we just, all right, we take the marriage next year then. But it must be some butterflies and some, you know, like, oh.
Yeah, I mean,
this, huh? And it's soon.
I don't have butterflies in the sense because I'll get it on the day of.
All right.
And I also am a very present person, so I don't like to think about like what the future is going to be.
No.
I'm very present in the now moment and like what's happening now, so I don't get overloaded by the
you must
intensity.
be excited.
I am excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited, but for me, it's about her. It's about what makes her happy.
All right. Yeah.
You know, as I always say, and she knows that I live by this principle: happy wife, happy life. And we were at dinner the other day, and someone was like, well, maybe most of the time, Märtha would turn to the person and goes, nope, happy wife, happy life. That's how my man treats me.
Yeah.
You know,
but
and,
it is like
and
that.
that is how I am with her.
That's how I am as well.
So whatever she wants, she gets. And when we started dating, I was the guy who was like taking her on trips and buying her beautiful jewelry. Yeah, I would she'd come to LA and I'd have a box on the bed with her with a ribbon, with a dress in there, with jewelry, and I'd take her out to beautiful dinners and magic shows and just beautiful experiences. And she said that she's never had someone, you know,
treat her
that way. Yeah. Treat her like
she deserves it.
She does.
Yeah.
And even down to her ring, like I designed it with my friend Joy. Like everything I do for Märtha is definitely thought about and really cared for because she's my queen and she's my sun and my moon. And I want her to always feel that she's my number one.
Yeah. Yeah, most important.
Yeah, and the same with the kids, like number one.
But I look at, you know, like my marriage, I look at this, it's a celebration of love, a party. I want a proper party like we talked about. Like now we're going to celebrate our love. So it's probably going to be a kick-ass party.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that.
No. I'm just saying.
But I see where you're trying to lead me. But good, that was a nice try. You were really going for it, though. That was really good.
No, I'm honest. You know.
Yeah, but I understand what you're leading me to. But I'm not going to talk about that.
No, but I love.
But yeah, I'm excited about what will come from it.
Yeah. And I love the party.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So, I think I know you a little bit better now.
I'm sure you do.
And I thank you for it because you know this was fun.
Yeah.
I like talking to you.
Thank you. I do too.
I want to talk to you again.
Absolutely, you can.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for now.
We're doing a fist bump?
Yeah, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I love it.
We can do that as well.
No, I don't shake hands.
No, you don't shake hands.
I don't.
Why don't you?
Because I don't feel like it really connects people together. I hug.
Yeah, I hug too.
Or bow.
But that doesn't. But it's skin against skin, and kind of a. You know.
Shaking hands came from a colloquial way of basically saying that I'm not going to kill you.
Oh, is that the reason?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to kill you. Instead of the gun.
Yes.
Now I know more.
Just like skull, right?
Yeah, skull. Do you know the original skull?
Of course.
What they did? You know, came into the village.
Yeah.
Took the skull of the leader.
Yeah.
Skull. And drink their blood.
And drank it, but also they would crash their things together. And if there's poison, they make sure it slipped into the other person. Yeah. So that way they would both be poisoned.
Yeah, true.
That's why they look in each other's eyes and toast. It's like, I know what you're going to do to me, and you know what you're going to do to me. So if you're doing it to me, I'm doing it to you.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah.
But again, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.